Chapter 15:10. Angry after speaking, he left without taking another glance at Caillou. Zhang Chong was even more filled with resentment. He felt guilty toward Caillou before, but now he hated Caillou's stupid betrayal. In the end, he didn't say anything, just glanced at Lu Zixi and Caillou with a sneer, and left. Looking at the angry backs of the two, Caillou tightly clenched his fists by his side, then he closed his eyelids, hiding all the emotions in his eyes. When he was facing Lu Zixi, there was only pure admiration and flattery on his face, as if he was exactly the same as those men around Lu Zixi who were obsessed with her. Siam Continent, Nangong family's courtyard. Yun Jingxue, dressed in red, pinched the inscribed jade slip she had just obtained in his hand with humiliation and anger on her face. She smashed the things on the table to the ground. "Miss, what's wrong? Why are you so angry?" the maid Lu Yun asked quickly. Yun Jingxue gritted her teeth and said, "Nangong Yu, how dares he do that? It's his honor that I'm willing to marry him. If he doesn't accept it, never mind, but he even announces to the entire Miluo continent that he wants to marry another woman as his wife. Such a blatant humiliation, how could I face people in Siam continent in the future?" "What? Young master of the Nangong family really dares to do this?" Lu Yun frowned. "Miss, could it be you who made a mistake? Or has he never seen you in person? My Miss Talent and Cultivation may not be the best in the Siam continent, but she is definitely one of the best in terms of appearance. When the disciples from ordinary families see Miss, their legs go limp. How can he be willing to refuse?" Speaking of this, Yun Jingxue became even more angry. "This Nangong Yu clearly saw my true face in the Nebula Du mirror, yet he completely ignored me like I didn't exist." On the contrary, when Yun Jingxue saw Nangong Yu's perfect and handsome face, her heart beat non-stop. Her original reluctance turned into anticipation. Yun Jingxue said with a twisted face, "Look at the news in the inscribed jade slip yourself. Nangong Yu announced in Miluo continent that he is about to be engaged to Shiyu, a student of Miracle Healer Academy. They will be married immediately after the engagement. He knew I'm engaged to him. Isn't he humiliating me by this? Low life. He really is a trash from the lower realm, just like his father." Back then, Nangong Outyen went crazy because the trash of the Yun family, Yun Churen, and now his son's taste is just as bad. Yun Jingxue was really mad. Since she advanced to the gold core stage and appeared in the Siam continent, she had always been sought after. How could she be reconciled to being slapped in the face mercilessly by a person from the lower realm? Lu Yun read the inscribed jade slip, but she immediately frowned. "Who is this Shiyu? Has Miss sent someone to investigate? Could it be that Nangong Yu is crazy or stupid? He didn't marry the talented girl from the upper realm, but he chooses a trash from the lower realm. I don't care what she is." Yun Jingxue said viciously with fire in her eyes, "Nangong Yu, he dares to humiliate me like this, I will definitely make him pay a heavy price." "Miss, you can't." Lu Yun's face darkened. She held Yun Jingxue's hand and said slowly, "Miss, have you forgotten Valley Master's order? You must marry Nangong Yu." As soon as the Valley Master was mentioned, the anger on Yun Jingxue's face froze, then her expression turned into fear. She bit her lip and said, "You also saw that it was Nangong Yu who refused to marry me. Valley Master. Valley won't let me pursue him instead, right?" Chapter 15:11. Crazy Lu Yun blinked, and a deep light flashed from her eyes. "Did you forget, Miss? You still have the old lady on your side. Nangong Yu listens to the old lady's words the most. As long as you please the old lady well, tell her your deep affection for Nangong Yu, and analyze the pros and cons of marrying a lowly person, I believe the old lady must understand who is the best candidate for the granddaughter-in-law of the Nangong family." Yun Jingxue rolled her eyes and revealed a sneer. "Lu Yun, change my clothes right away. I'm going to see the old lady." At the same time, Nangong Hua also received news about Nangong Yu's marriage from the lower realm. But he received not only the news that Nangong Yu was going to marry Shiyu, but also a secret letter from Nangong Xian. Originally, after hearing that Nan Gongyu dared to disobey him and directly announced the marriage news, Nan Gonghua was still full of anger, but when he saw the secret letter that Nan Gong Xan asked Jing Luo to send, he looked astonished, then he laughed frantically. Is what third brother said true? Nan Gonghua looked at Jing Luo with shining eyes. My good nephew, is he really crazy now? He actually wants to marry a man as his wife. A mocking smile flashed across Jing Luo's eyes. He nodded meaningfully and said, I saw Shiyu at Miracle Healer Academy with my own eyes. He is really a beautiful young man with an extraordinary demeanor. When the third master saw him, he couldn't even move. I think master, you must have been seduced in the same way. Ha 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 ha. Nan Gonghua laughed again, feeling that the depression in his heart all the years had disappeared at this moment. Nan Gong Outyen, I didn't expect you to have such a day. So what if you are talented, brave and invincible? The son you gave birth to is gay. It's fine to hook up with a toy boy, but he even wants to marry a man. Ha ha ha, I wonder how you will feel after knowing that you Nan Gong Outyen will have no offspring. After Nan Gonghua had a good laugh for a while, Zheng Luo reminded, Patriarch, don't forget. We have an agreement with the Master of Thousand Poison Valley. No matter what, we still have to marry Miss Yun to Nan Gongyu. Nan Gonghua suppressed his smile and said with a sinister smile, You're right. I don't care if he loves men or not, but he must marry Yun Jingxue as his wife. Otherwise, our Nan Gong family will be in a difficult situation. I didn't know how to stop him from marrying a person from the lower realm before, but now I don't have to worry about it. It's fine for a man to play around. I don't believe that he can really marry a man. Even if I agree, my old mother will not agree. Thinking of this, Nan Gonghua also brought news and evidence to old lady Nangong's room. When Nan Gonghua rushed to the door of the old woman's room, he heard Yun Jingshue's weeping sound from inside the room. Old lady, ever since I found out about the engagement with cousin Yu, I have been thinking for brother Yu and waiting for brother Yu to marry Jingxue. Who in Siam continent doesn't know that I'm the future granddaughter-in-law of the Nangong family, but who knows what I got was the news that brother Yu is going to marry another woman. Woo, old lady, how can Jingxue still stay in Siam continent after being abandoned like this? I might as well die. Upon hearing this, Nan Gonghua immediately opened the door and went in. He saw old lady Nangong look at Yun Jingxue with distress. She kept comforting her, Jingxue, maybe there is some misunderstanding about this matter. Why didn't you discuss it with me before he decides to marry a woman from the lower realm? Chapter 1512, Absurd, What Woman? Nan Gonghua interrupted old lady Nangong all of a sudden, and he sneered, Mother, you made a mistake. The person Nangong you wants to marry is not a woman, but a real man. A toy boy. What? Two exclamations sounded in unison. Yun Jingxue couldn't believe her ears. What is Nan Gonghua saying? What does it mean that he is not marrying a woman, but a real man? Nan Gongyu is going to marry a man. Is he crazy? Old lady Nangong also had a frosty face, and she said coldly, Don't talk nonsense, Yuer will have a limit to his nonsense. How could he marry a man as his wife? Nan Gonghua knew that they didn't believe it, and he immediately took out a picture scroll with a sneer. This was painted by Zheng Luo just based on his impression. Zheng Luo not only had superb strength, but he was also a very skilled painter. The picture scroll was spread out. What was painted on it was a handsome young man. Just looking at his exquisite facial features and awe-inspiring temperament, he was even more than Yun Jingxue. According to Zheng Luo, his paintings haven't yet depicted 50% of his beauty. However, no matter how beautiful he was still a man. Old lady Nangong trembled and said, This is the person Yuer is going to marry? Nan Gonghua smiled gloatingly, I heard that everyone in Miluo continent knows about it now. This kid named Shiyu is quite famous. Now people in the lower realm are laughing at Nan Gongyu for marrying a man as his wife. Absurd. Old lady Nangong slapped the table hard. The teacups on the table crackled and jumped, making a piercing knocking sound. Old Lady Nangong's face was full of anger. She gritted her teeth. What is you thinking? He is the eldest son of our Nangong family, and he is so outstanding. How can he marry a man as his wife? I absolutely disagree. Yun Jingxue and Lu Yun looked at each other. They both saw the mocking smile in each other's eyes. Yun Jingxue took Old Lady Nangong's hand and said sadly, Old lady, the most urgent task now is to prevent Cousin Yu from marrying a man. Cousin Yu listens to Old Lady Nangong the most. I believe you can dissuade him. Cousin Yu will definitely listen. What's more, how could Cousin Yu really like a man? It must be Cousin Yu who is seduced by this shameless fox. As long as we expose the true face of that shameless toy boy, Cousin Yu will definitely change his mind. Yes. Nangong Hua also smiled at the right time. Yu is just too young and impulsive. When he sees someone who is pretty, he doesn't care whether the person is male or female. In my opinion, Jingxue doesn't look any worse than that toy boy at all. I believe that Yu will be attracted by Jingxue if he sees her. Old Lady Nangong also showed a smile on her face, patted Yun Jingxue's hand, and said, Yes, Jingxue, don't worry. You are the only daughter-in-law of our Nangong family. We will go to Miluo continent now, and I will definitely make Yu marry you as soon as possible. Old Lady Yun Jingxue called out affectionately, nestling in Old Lady Nangong's arms. Her face flushed. But a fierce dark light flashed in her eyes. Nangong Yu, this bastard wants a man and doesn't want me. He let me Yun Jingxue become the laughing stock of the Siam continent, and I still have to deliver myself to him. That bitch Shiyu too. He just can't do anything else than a toy boy. I will remember the humiliation these two people gave me. I will definitely pay it back. Chapter 15-13, I Want to Be Dowry. Nangong Hua also showed a smile. As long as Nangong Yu could marry Yun Jingxue. No, even if he doesn't marry, as long as I find a way to make Nangong Yu and Yun Jingxue have a relationship, I can get the benefits promised by Lu Wushuang. Although the Valley Master of Thousand Poison Valley is nothing, there is Lu family behind Lu Wushuang. As long as we can affiliate with the big Lu family, our Nangong family will soon prosper. If one asked, what was the most widely circulated event in Miluo continent during this period, all the martial artists would tell him that King of Hell Nangong Yu was getting married to Xingda Hall's young master Shiyu. Because of this news, the entire continent was almost boiling. Not to mention that this shocking marriage was the most talked about every day in Jinling Kingdom, even Nangong Yu's admirers protested angrily every day in Xingda Hall. If Nangong Yu married a woman, maybe they would give up after being unwilling. But, Nangong Yu actually wanted to marry a man. How could they be reconciled? They actually lost to a man. However, after a while, another version of the news spread from Miracle Healer City. I heard that it's not Shiyu marrying into the King of Hell mansion, but King of Hell Nangong Yu is going to marry into Xingda Hall. Just kidding, that's King of Hell Nangong Yu, Miluo continent's #1 powerhouse. How could King of Hell marry him? TCH, you are saying like Shiyu is not worthy? The best quality pills produced by Xingda Hall are all provided by Shiyu. Don't buy it if you are good. What's more, I heard that Shiyu has advanced from the foundation establishment stage to the gold core stage in just 1 year. Your Highness King of Hell wasn't that powerful back then, was he? There was an uproar in the main cities, but the direction of the opposition and quarrel seemed totally deviated. There was even a gamble on boundless black market, betting on who would marry to who. In King of Hell Mansion, several of Nangong Yu's subordinates were ashen-faced. Wu Go even said angrily, how can these people slander the reputation of master like this? Qing Long put his hand on his forehead and thought secretly, I knew master's announcement of the marriage news without asking will have bad results, but I didn't expect such a weird development. Nangong Yu who was sitting at the top shook his head lightly. The smile on his face was full of helplessness and indulgence. Wu Xian said cautiously, Master, do you need us to clarify the rumors? Nangong Yu pursed his lips and said with a smile, No, people in the world can say whatever they want, so what does it matter to me? If Xia really wants me to marry her, then why not? Wu Qian and Wu Go, who didn't know the truth, froze when they heard the words. The corners of Wu Xian and Qing Long's mouths twitched. Master, you know that Miss Shi Yu is a girl. Please stop playing with Miluo continent like this. Everyone is innocent. Only Wu Yu, a foodie, immediately jumped up excitedly when he heard it. Master, I want to be the dowry. Nangong Yu kicked him away and said with a faint smile, you guys are starting to prepare for the wedding. Remember to discuss with Gu Lufeng and Shi Jia about the bride price and wedding banquet. I'll go to Miracle Healer Academy first. However, Heshi, who was at the eye of the storm, had always been calm. She ate and slept as usual. Every day she digested the materials in the Miracle Healer Academy library bit by bit. If she had any questions, she would ask the elders. Although many students in the school feel ashamed that Shiyu, a man, wanted to marry King of Hell Nangong Yu, who was also a man, but no one was stupid enough to be the unlucky one. Chapter 15-14, confused even Lu Jishi, who hated Heshi the most, once again sneered and slandered at Heshi, then she was severely punished by Heshi. Since then, she no longer dared to act presumptuously in public. Miracle Healer Academy had always respected the strength. Even after Zheng Shouyue heard that Shiyu would not like girls, he persuaded her earnestly, you must let Nangong Yu marry to you. How can I allow my best disciple to be snatched away so easily? This made Heshi really dumbfounded. When she said she would marry Nangong Yu back that day, she really just said it casually, purely to shut the mouth of Nangong Xian and his toy boy. Unexpectedly, under the public opinion created by Jin Ziyu and Wei Chengyuan, the whole Miluo continent was now discussing her marriage with Nangong Yu. Hee hee. Thinking of Nangong Yu's expression after hearing this argument, Heshi couldn't help laughing. By the time she got back to the dormitory, it was already dark. Xian Mu was already lying quietly on the bed, seemingly asleep. When Heshi was about to get into bed, Xian Mu sat up on the bed and looked at him solemnly. The light in his eyes was flickering. Heshi touched her face, wondering, what's wrong? Is there something on my face? I heard the news about you and Nangong Yu. Cough, Heshi almost choked on her own saliva. I'm not surprised if anyone gossips, but this is Xian Mu, the high-cold Xian Mu who has never bothered about others' matters. Is he trying to get the news from me? Heshi took out a glass of diluted spirit spring water from the void, took a sip to suppress her shock, and said awkwardly, oh. Xian Mu frowned, he's a man, not suitable for you. The corner of Heshi's mouth twitched. As expected, one lie will be followed by countless lies. How should I answer? Say that I just like men. Or women are not suitable for me. Or else just say that I'm gay. Wait. Wrong. I'm obviously a woman. Heshi felt confused. Xian Mu jumped off the bed, slowly approached Heshi, and stared at her deeply. Have you decided on this person? You won't regret it. Heshi really wanted to say, you are being too controlling. But Xian Mu's expression was too serious that she couldn't just casually brush him off. She swallowed, then she nodded, from the moment I choose Nangong Yu, I will not regret it. I will not give myself a chance to regret it. Xian Mu was slightly taken aback. His expression became distant and dazed. After a long time, he took a step back. His expression returned to his usual indifference. Okay, I understand. Before Heshi could speak, Xian Mu said again, congratulations. Thank you. Heshi continued to answer awkwardly. Why is Xian Mu so strange today? Qing Wan just came back with Heshi's crystal stone for this month. As soon as she entered the door and saw Xian Mu leaning so close to her princess, she burst into anger. Hey, what are you doing? Stay away from our young master. Xian Mu ignored Qing Wan, returned to his bed, and said slowly with a cold voice, be careful of the people of Nangong family. They are now the pawns of the Lu family. The Lu family? Heshi frowned. Suddenly, she remembered Ouyang Haoshuan's investigation results. The Valley Master of the Thousand Poison Valley was called Lu Wushuang. Chapter 15:15, Sympathy Miracle Healer Academy, Mojing Pavilion. Nangong Xian was pressing on Tong Bing's naked body to vent his anger. The gasping, moaning, and crying sound reverberated in the room from time to time. Nangong Xian pressed Tong Bing, but that unparalleled face seemed to appear in front of her eyes. The lust in his eyes turned into blazing flames. That beautiful young man, if he is the one under me, if I can get him. Thinking of how cold and ruthless she was when he beat him, Nangong Xian was resentful and unwilling. But at the same time, his heart became more burning and longing, almost as if he was going crazy to get this person. When Nangong Xian was excited, he grabbed Tong Bing's hair and tortured the boy under him ruthlessly. Even though Tong Bing was in so much pain that he kept begging for mercy, and his body was covered with bruises, Nangong Xian didn't care. Instead, he tortured Tong Bing more and more cruelly. After a long time, Nangong Xian finally stopped. Suddenly, a guard's anxious voice came from the door, "Master, someone is here." Nangong Xian frowned. He was about to scold the guard for disturbing him. The closed door was knocked open with a bang. The disgusting smell made the person who barged in frown in disgust. Nangong Xian wanted to yell at him, but when he saw the person clearly, he was so frightened that he jumped off the bed. He didn't even have time to put on his clothes. The person standing at the door turned out to be his second brother, Nangong Hua, the master of the Nangong family. Standing behind Nangong Hua was his mother, the old lady of the Nangong family, and Yun Jingxue, who was supporting her. Nangong Hua looked at his younger brother, who was hurriedly grabbing his clothes to cover up his fat and unsightly body, and the disgust in his eyes was even greater. "Get dressed and get out." As he spoke, he glanced at Tong Bing, who was covered in bruises on the bed, as if looking at a trash. Nangong Xian dared to be arrogant to others, but he didn't dare to do the same in front of his second brother. As soon as Nangong Hua left, he quickly put on his clothes and hurriedly followed. Tong Bing waited for Nangong Xian to go out before he frowned, got up and used spiritual power to heal his body. But his spiritual power was weak. The wounds on his body tortured by Nangong Xian were too deep. It was so painful that he couldn't stop taking quick breaths. The guard felt pity seeing his weak body and childish face. He couldn't help but stepped forward and said, "You can't do this. I have some wound medicine here." As he spoke, he took the wound medicine from his storage bag and handed it over. Tears fell from Tong Bing's eyes. His face was indescribably pitiful and pathetic. He begged in a hoarse voice, "My wounds hurt so much. Can you please use spiritual power to heal me?" Spiritual power could relieve pain, so the guard didn't think too much and immediately channeled spiritual power to slowly caress the hideous wounds on the young man's body. When the spiritual power touched Tong Bing's dantian, Tong Bing's eyes showed a glimpse of murderous intent. The dagger he held in his hand mercilessly pierced into the guard's chest, then he activated the devouring power. The devouring power could only be used on people who were willing or had no resistance. It was useless to people whose strength was stronger than him. Tong Bing waited for more than half a month, maintaining a weak and harmless appearance, to win the sympathy of the people around him, just for this moment. Chapter 15:16, Same person. A moment later, the guard who had been sucked dry fell to the ground with his eyes wide open. Tong Bing glanced at it with a sneer and put the corpse into the storage ring that Nangong Xian gave him. There were many guards around Nangong Xian, so he wouldn't care if a guard was missing. The wound on Tong Bing's body healed completely at a speed visible to the naked eye, and his skin became tight and smooth again. Tong Bing wore his clothes, put up an innocent and weak expression again, and walked toward the room where Nangong Xian and Nangong Hua used for discussion. In the conference hall, Nangong Xian was talking about what happened after meeting Shiyu. He looked infuriated, then there was a glimpse of greed and lust, making that fat face distorted and trembling from time to time. Nangong Hua knew his younger brother best. By looking at his expression, he could tell that Nangong Xian had ill intentions against the young man named Shiyu. He felt disgusted instantly. There are so many women, yet you just prefer men. Nangong Hua had always looked down on this younger brother, but he didn't expect that his nephew, known as the most talented person in the Nangong family, would also have such a bad habit. At this moment, the door of the room was suddenly pushed open carefully, revealing the head of a handsome young man with nervousness and fear. Nangong Hua and the others recognized at a glance that this young man was the toy boy who rolled the bed with Nangong Xian just now. Nangong Hua hated this kind of people the most, and he immediately said coldly, "Third brother, you really are getting more and more carefree. How can you let this lowly thing wander around? He even dares to come here." Because of his high cultivation and the fact that this was the lower realm, Nangong Hua never thought of letting the guards guard outside. He didn't expect Tong Bing to come in on his own. Even old lady Nangong, who had always maintained a kind and worried face, frowned with deep disgust in her eyes. Yun Jingxue raised her eyebrows in anger and swung the whip fiercely at Tong Bing. "Scum, who let you in? You tired of living?" Tong Bing's flesh was ruptured by the whip, and he rolled all over the floor in pain. However, instead of rolling outside, he rolled into the house. He screamed while crying, "Third master, help me, help me. I just want to help you. You know that I'm the one who knows Shiyu and King of His Majesty Hell the best. Ah, please help." As soon as Tong Bing said this, before Nangong Xian asked for pardon for him, Nangong Hua had already narrowed his eyes and raised his hand to stop Yun Jingxue. He walked over slowly, looking condescendingly at Tong Bing lying on the ground covered in whip marks and ragged clothes. "You know Shiyu and Nangong Yu?" Tong Bing was sobbing and shrinking his body with a pure and harmless appearance. "I used to study at Miracle Healer Academy. Shiyu, he is the same person as me. I lived with him in the same dormitory once, so I saw him hooking up with His Royal Highness King of Hell and even other men." Yun Jingxue showed a disgusted expression. She said with a distorted face, "A person like you? So he is really a toy boy that anyone can play with?" Thinking of the scene where Nangong Xian pressed Tong Bing just now, Yun Jingxue was so disgusted that she was about to vomit. Tong Bing's eyes were crying with a pale and pitiful face, but he didn't say anything. Chapter 15-17, You Have a Way. Yun Jingxue was getting more and more disgusted by him. She returned to old lady Nangong and said coquettishly, "Old lady, the lower realm is the lower realm. I didn't expect so many men to be willing to degrade themselves as toy boys. I think cousin you become like this because of the bad influence of Miluo continent. We should bring cousin you back to Siam continent as soon as possible." Old lady Nangong was also frowning tightly. She said with a cold face, "Jingxue is right, we will take Yuer back immediately. We must not let him marry such a thing. Let Yuer marry Jingxue when we go back and stay away from places like Miluo continent in the future." A dark light flashed in Tong Bing's eyes. His eyelashes drooped low, hiding his true emotions. It turns out that Yun Jingxue is Nangong Yu's fiancé. I wonder what will happen to Shiyu if she were to face him. Nangong Hua sneered and said, "Jingxue, don't worry. Shiyu is just an ant after all. We will crush him to death if we want to. Tomorrow I will let Zheng Luo get rid of him. I don't believe that Nangong Yu will go against me because of a toy boy. Wouldn't it be too cheap to let Shiyu die like this? Besides, I haven't gotten Shiyu's wood spiritual root yet." Tong Bing blinked and said with fear, "No, you can't kill Shiyu like this." Yun Jingxue suddenly glared at him, "Know your place. Who let you speak?" With red eyes, Tong Bing crawled to Nangong Xian's side and sobbed, "Binger of course is not qualified to speak, but Third Master has saved Binger's life. Binger has to repay it, so I have to tell what I know even if you kill me. During the time Shiyu was at Miracle Healer Academy, he not only hooked up His Royal Highness King of Hell, but he also fascinated many powerful men. If you kill Shiyu directly, not only His Royal Highness King of Hell will be angry, but it will also affect his relationship with Miss Yun. Even those men who are hooked up by Shiyu will not let it go easily. Among those men, there is one named Xianmu, whose cultivation should have surpassed the nascent soul stage. Nan Gonghua's pupils shrank suddenly. His expression remained uncertain. Xianmu. There is no such person in Siam, but his cultivation has surpassed the nascent soul stage and his surname is Xian. This somehow makes me uneasy. Who is this Shiyu? A mere man can really seduce so many people. Or is this toy boy lying to them? But if it's true, wouldn't it not worth to trigger my nephew and provoke a powerful enemy just for Shiyu? Seeing Nan Gonghua's expression, Tong Bing knew that he was shaken. There was a glimpse of ridicule in his eyes. His face looked even weaker and more innocent. He said with genuine concern for the Nangong family, if you want to deal with Shiyu, unless you let His Highness the King of Hell and those men whom he hooks up with see his face clearly. Otherwise, even you kill Shiyu, it will only backfire. Nan Gonghua glared at Tong Bing with a squint. You have a way. Tong Bing bit his lip. Teardrops were still on his pretty face, looking pitiful. He said softly, Shiyu is domineering in Miracle Healer Academy. Binger is not the only one who is persecuted by him, but also there are many people who hate him to his core. As long as we unite with those people and find a way to expose Shiyu's true face to others, I believe His Highness King of Hell will no longer treat him as a treasure. He will only abandon him like a worn-out shoe. Chapter 15:18, Teach a lesson. At that time, if Ms. Yun wants to kill or torture him, I believe His Royal Highness King of Hell will not stop you. He will even thank Ms. Yun for letting him know his way back. When Yun Jingxue heard that, she snorted with an uncertain expression in his eyes, you better mean what you say. Tong Bing shrugged his shoulders, leaned against Nangong Xian, and said in a low voice, Binger did this not only to avenge Shiyu's persecution of me, but also to repay Third Master's life-saving grace. If Third Master is willing trust Binger, let Binger arrange everything. Nangong Xian was flattered by Tong Bing's eyes full of gratitude and admiration. He smiled at Nangong Hua and said, Second brother, my toy boy still has some brains. Why don't you let him try? You also know how hot-tempered Nangong Yu is. If you really kill Shiyu directly, not only will she not marry Jingxue, but he will directly break the ties with our Nangong family. Old Lady Nangong also thought of this possibility. She lowered her brows slightly and said in a deep voice, Old Third is right, we must not let Yuer be separated from us. Let Old Third's people try it. A crazy smile flashed across Tong Bing's eyes. He lowered his eyebrows, trying to suppress the impulse to laugh wildly. Shiyu, just wait for your reputation to be ruined. As for Lu Zhishi, it's time to contact her and ask her to contribute to Shiyu's fall. Tong Bing's suggestion made Nangong Hua finally decide not to kill Shiyu. However, Yun Jingxue couldn't accept it. She was a majestic young miss from the Yun family and a talented girl from the upper realm, but she still had to be afraid of a toy boy from the lower realm. If this kind of thing gets out, how can I have the face to see people? When Tong Bing learned that Yun Jingxue wanted to teach Shiyu a lesson, instead of stopping her, he added fuel to the fire, Miss Yun, although you can't kill Shiyu directly, you should teach him a lesson. You should let everyone in the Miracle Healer Academy knows who is His Highness King of Hell's real fiancé. Yun Jingxue's face was full of pride when she heard the words, then she took Lu Yun with her and headed toward the Huang medical branch pointed by Tong Bing. Tong Bing looked at her back and cursed in a low voice, idiot. However, this idiot is just right to attract Xiayu's attention, making him unaware of my arrangement. Moreover, Yun Jingxue's strength was very high, several times stronger than Nangong Xian's, plus there are many powerful guards around her. I don't believe that Shiyu can escape this time. Yun Jingxue looked at the young man walking on the tree-shaded road not far away, and she couldn't believe her eyes. No matter which city in Siam continent she was in, she never saw anyone more beautiful than her. Every man can't move his eyes when seeing her. But she didn't expect that she would see a man more beautiful than her. Compared with Shiyu's alluring demeanor, her beauty could only be regarded as gaudy at best. Yun Jingxue stared fixedly at Shi Yu's face. Even though it was a man in front of her, she wished she could rush over and scratch this face immediately. You're Shi Yu. That scum who seduces cousin Yu. He was on her way to the library, then she suddenly felt a malicious gaze. However, she had been used to being stared at by people because of the wedding news, so she wasn't bothered by her at all. Unexpectedly, this person suddenly rushed in front of her. Chapter 1519, Fiancee. He squinted at the person coming. This was a very glamorous girl. She was only 17 years old, but her cultivation had already reached the peak of the nascent soul stage. As Yun Jingxue approached, she found that the young man in front of him had skin that was more beautiful than snow. His appearance was also peerless. The fire of jealousy in her heart was burning. She raised her hand and slapped toward He's face fiercely. He swayed slightly and easily avoided the slap, but a dangerous light shone from her eyes. Who are you? Want to fight? I'm ready for it. Because of the noise here, many people were attracted. Yun Jingxue didn't expect that He could dodge her slap, which made her even angrier. She gritted her teeth and said, "Let me tell you, I'm Nangong Yu's fiancé. You shameless toy boy, don't think that you can marry into the Nangong family by just spreading some news. I don't care what kind of relationship you had with cousin Yu before, but from now on, you'd better disappear on your own. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." He frowned, and she slowly repeated, "Fiancé." When it came to fiancé, she thought of Feng Lianying, and her mood turned bad instantly. This guy Nangong Yu really has a lot of bad entanglement. The students of Miracle Healer Academy who were watching were also whispering in amazement. Shi Yu had absolute authority in Miracle Healer Academy, but it didn't mean that everyone had no opinion on marriage between men. Deep down in many people's hearts, they were still ashamed of Shi Yu's behavior of marrying man. Now that they heard Nangong Yu even had a fiancé, and that the fiancé had come to her, the puzzlement and disappointment of these people turned into anger and contempt. Qing Wan, who was following He, trembled with anger when she heard these words. Seeing He's downcast face, she thought she really believed it. Qing Wan immediately pointed at Yun Jingxue and scolded, "You nonsense. Since when did our master have a fiancé? Even if he did, it will only be our our young master. What fiancé? I think you just want to marry our master on your own right." As Qing Wan said that, she also took out a red natal pendant, on which the phoenix pattern shone. "I'm Zhu Ke, one of King of Hell's confidants. I'm following young master under my master's command. How about you? How dare you say that you are master's fiancé? Do you even have a token from master? What are you? Dare to talk to my lady like that?" Lu Yun was stunned. She launched a green belt toward Qing Wan. The originally soft belt turned into a sharp blade and pierced toward Qing Wan's chest. Although Lu Yun looked ordinary, her strength was not much lower than that of Yun Jingxue. Qing Wan was no more than the gold core stage, so there was no way she could resist it. With a sound, the sharp blade transformed from the green belt cut off Qing Wan's long sword and stabbed toward her chest. At the critical moment, He grabbed across the distance. Qing Wan was dragged back several steps by her, narrowly avoiding the attack. The green belt turned toward He. He sneered, and Li Shui's sword suddenly appeared out of thin air and went toward the whistling green belt. There was a loud impact. The green belt shook violently, making sizzling tearing sounds as if it couldn't bear the impact. Lu Yun was astounded. Her magic weapon was slashed into several pieces, becoming a pile of trash. Chapter 1520, Picked the wrong person. You actually ruined my magic weapon. He looked at Lu Yun and Yun Jingxue coldly and said with a sneer, "Enough nonsense. Either fight or leave." Yun Jingxue was frightened by He's casual strike. Before she came here, she didn't pay much attention to this toy boy from the lower realm. However, even Yun Jingxue herself wasn't sure of blocking Lu Yun's strike, but Shi Yu easily resisted the strike and even destroyed her magic weapon. "Who is this Shi Yu? Yun Jingshue's face turned pale and red. She gritted her teeth after a long while and said, You shameless toy boy. Let me tell you, cousin Yu and I are engaged. I'm his legitimate fiancé. No matter how much you pester cousin Yu, you won't end well. The coldness in Heshi's eyes gradually turned into violent impatience. Her smile was cold and fierce. It seems that you are planning to fight. Very well. It just happens that I'm getting quite irritated recently. The light of Li Shui's sword, and the terrified aura erupted from Heshi. The students of Miracle Healer Academy, who were still chattering, were so frightened by the powerful spirit pressure that their legs trembled. They all screamed and scattered. After returning from the magical beast forest, Heshi had been restraining her edge, keeping a low profile and showing no sense of presence, so they almost forgot what kind of power this most terrifying genius since the establishment of Miracle Healer Academy had. And Heshi was indeed infuriated. Although she had always been not interested in other people's foul words, and she didn't bother to pay attention to it. However, again and again, people came to provoke her with their mouths as dirty as shit. They scolded her every day that she was not worthy of Nangong Yu and told her not to pester Nangong Yu. How could she still have a good mood? I don't go mad. You really think I'm a weakling? You have an opinion. Why don't you go to Nangong Yu who announced the marriage news? All of you come to trigger me one by one. Do you think I'm easy to be controlled? Hee hee, I'll show you guys the consequences of picking the wrong person. After 15 minutes, the people of the Miracle Healer Academy were already crowded there. However, so many people were silenced by the fearsome scene. Even the students of Huang Medical Branch couldn't help swallowing from time to time. Shiyu is so scary, too scary. Yun Jingxue couldn't help crying. Tears and snot were hanging on her bruised and swollen face. The clothes on her body were tattered. Sei kept rolling on the ground in order to escape Shiyu's attack. Woo woo, help me, you bunch of trash. Help me now. Ah. Stop, please stop. The 3 bodyguards brought by Yun Jingxue, including Lu Yun, were all nascent soul stage, but now they were all beaten to the ground by Shiyu. They didn't know what method Shiyu used. As long as they were hurt by Shiyu's sword, they would immediately become limp and unable to move. Their Dantians obviously had powerful spiritual power, but they couldn't exert it at all. So, the majestic nascent soul stage experts, under the watchful eyes of everyone, were beaten up by a gold core stage young man. And Yun Jingxue, who was beaten the most, was going crazy. In her life, she had never been humiliated like this. Shiyu, woo, just you wait. I won't let you go. You'll have a miserable end. A cold light flashed in Heshi's eyes, and she sneered, Oh, are you reminding me to get rid of the root before the weed grows? Chapter 1521, just come. As soon as she said that, the red and blue Li Shui sword soared into the sky with an ear-piercing whistling sound, then it slashed fiercely toward Yun Jingshue's vital point. Yun Jingshue's face was full of horror. She closed his eyes and let out a hysterical scream. Stop! How dare you hurt Jingxue? A sharp shout came from not far away, then a black light flashed. Heshi felt the Li Shui sword hanging in the air receive a powerful impact, making a clang. The powerful attack receded like a tide. The light and shadow of Li Shui's sword disappeared. It turned and returned to Heshi's hand. Not far away, a few powerful men came forward slowly, staring at Heshi with a sharp gaze. As soon as Yun Jingxue saw someone coming, she rushed over while crying, Uncle Hua, you must stand up for Jingxue. This Shiyu, this scum, how dare he humiliates me like this. Woo. If he doesn't die, Jingxue doesn't want to live either. The people who came were Nangong Hua, Zheng Luo, and his subordinates. Seeing these people, Heshi's heart shuddered. Her expression immediately became a little dignified. These few men who appeared suddenly were all above the nascent soul later stage. Nangong Hua and Zheng Luo had one even reached the soul-splitting stage. Nan Gonghua stared deeply at the young man in front with a trace of amazement in his eyes, then he glanced at Yun Jingxue and her subordinates who were beaten terribly. The amazement turned into deep fear and shock. I always thought that Shi Yu is just a beautiful young man, and Nan Gongyu is just bewitched by him. But now it seems that the truth might not be so simple. A young man, who lives in the lower realms and is only at the gold core stage, can actually beat 5 nascent soul stage experts. With such talent and strength, if he is given a chance to grow up, he might become another Nan Gongyu. Could this be the reason why Nan Gongyu wants to marry him? He wants to train this young man so that he can secretly regain the power of Nan Gong family. Nan Gonghua's heart trembled. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. What are you? You're just an ant from the lower realm, and you dare to hurt the people of my Nan Gong family. I will give you 2 choices. Either you cut off your own arms or you die here. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. People from Huang Medical Branch had already sneaked away to seek help from the elders of Miracle Healer Academy. The other people looked at He with pity and helplessness. No matter how strong Shi Yu was, how could she compete with the people from the upper realm? What was more, the strength of these martial artists was so unfathomable. However, He didn't even change her expression. Instead of fear, her eyes were burning with flames. What are you? If you want to fight, just come. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Nan Gonghua only felt that his breath was stuck in his throat. He was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Since he became the family master, except for Nan Gongyu's unfilial nephew, no one dared to talk to him like that. Killing intent leaked from his eyes. Nan Gonghua waved his hand to Zheng Luo who was behind him and said in a deep voice, teach him a lesson. As long as you don't kill him, do whatever you can. Best to cripple him. Yes, family master. A bloodthirsty light flashed in Zheng Luo's eyes. A huge hammer suddenly appeared in his hand as he walked toward He with a sneer. That hammer seemed to be an ordinary weapon that those low-rank martial artists who relied purely on strength would use it. Chapter 1522, Counterattack. However, when Zheng Luo held it up, all the onlookers felt a cold, bloody aura blowing toward their faces. Zheng Luo was already at the soul-splitting stage. Although he had just advanced not long ago, why would he take a gold core stage small character like Shi Yu seriously? A chain was connected to the handle of the hammer, making cracking sounds. Zheng Luo waved his hand lightly, and the hammer spun like a fan in midair. As it spun, dazzling lightning coiled around the hammer, making thunderous sounds. When Zheng Shouyue, Li Qingquan and other elders arrived, what they saw was the meteor hammer whistling toward Shi Yu. At this time, the shadow of the hammer had covered the sun above Shi Yu's head, making Shi Yu look so weak and small. Zheng Shouyue let out an angry and shrill exclamation, "Stop!" However, it was too late. The shadow of the hammer and the thunder were about to tear Shi Yu into pieces the next moment. Many Huang Medical Branch students screamed in horror. The other students couldn't bear to close their eyes. An excited smile appeared on Zheng Luo's face. What he liked most was seeing people smashed by meteor hammers to the point of dying. He had reserved his power. If this young man died like this, he could only blame himself for being too weak. But the next moment, Zheng Luo's smile froze on his face. Boom, dash. The dazzling flame spread suddenly like an explosion, and a fiery air wave swept across hundreds of meters. The ground of Miracle Healer Academy, which was paved with special green bricks, melted and shattered one after another. The trees on both sides were also swept by the flames, turning into ashes in an instant. Seeing that the situation was not good, Zheng Shouyue and Li Qingquan quickly set up their protective shields, enveloping the students and retreating. They narrowly avoided the engulfment of the flames. Zheng Luo, who was the first to bear the brunt, only felt that the flames were like hellfire. His protective shield was corroded at the touch. I'm at the soul-splitting stage. How can I possibly be injured by the flame of a gold core stage kid? Nan Gonghua and the others were also shocked. They used magic weapons and spiritual power to resist. However, Yun Jingxue and the others were out of luck. They had just been poisoned by Shiyu, so their spiritual power could not be used and could only be beaten passively. When the flames hit, Nangong Hua and the others only cared about protecting themselves. When they remembered to pull them into the protective cover, the hair of Yun Jingxue and the others had been scorched black. When the wind blew, black ash fluttered down, and exposed patches of scalp like lumpy head. After burning for 10 seconds, the flames slowly subsided and dissipated in the air. Zheng Luo panted heavily while looking at the young man-boy not far away with horror. The meteor hammer had already fallen to the ground. Although it was not burned to ashes, most of it was melted. The young man in front of him was unharmed, but his face was shockingly pale. Nangong Hua gasped. A gold core stage young man unexpectedly blocked the soul-splitting stage's attack, and he even counterattacked. Who is this young man? At this moment, He felt weak. If she moved a little, she would directly collapse to the ground. What she had just used was a newly learned move in level 3 of the Maha inheritance, Sinless Fire. This move should originally be used after reaching the peak of the nascent soul stage. Once the Sinless Fire ignited, it could burn everything within a radius of several kilometers. Even the soul-splitting stage powerhouse couldn't stop the burn of this Sinless Fire. Chapter 1523, Reunion. However, He was only at the gold core stage now. How could she condense Sinless Fire? Therefore, she thought of a way to use the circle of life in her body to convert the other 5 types of spiritual powers into fire spiritual power in a short period of time and launched this attack. This was a truly fatal blow, and its power was astonishingly powerful, but after the attack, He only felt so weak that she could fall asleep at any time. Not to mention taking another blow from soul-splitting stage, even if Yun Jingxue rushed to retaliate now, He would be defeated with one blow. It was a pity that Yun Jingxue didn't know about it. She was frightened by Shiyu that she held her burned bald head and cried. Nangong Hua's face became more and more gloomy. He could feel Zheng Luo's disordered internal aura, which meant he suffered major internal injuries. A gold core stage can actually hurt the soul-splitting stage. If such a young man is united with Nangong Yu, the consequences will be disastrous. Even if I will face Nangong Yu's crazy revenge in the end, this young man must not be kept alive. Thinking of this, Nangong Hua finally walked forward slowly with a cold face. He was wearing gloves on his hands. After taking off the gloves, a pair of fiery red palms covered with scales was revealed. He wanted to kill this genius young man before he gained more power. In the distance, Lu Jishi watched this scene excitedly and nervously. She bit her fingers nervously and muttered, "Kill him, kill this scum." No, it's too easy for him. It's too easy for him to die like this. The young man wearing a white mask laughed and said lightly, "Don't worry, Nangong Hua will abolish Shiyu, but he won't kill him right now." Yes, abolish him and let him become a trash and a slave to be trampled on. Lu Jishi became more and more excited. She almost wanted to jump out to see that man's miserable end with her own eyes. But she was immediately stopped by the young man beside her. "What do you think of the cooperation I mentioned?" When Lu Jishi was stopped, her originally excited nerves relaxed. She slowly turned around to look at the young man with a mask, then she smiled sweetly. "Tong Bing, we are already old friends. Why are you still wearing a mask? You really recognized me?" Tong Bing seemed not surprised. He chuckled and took off the mask, revealing a harmless face, but only for a moment. The mask was put on again. "Shiyu is too vicious, too cunning. I can only set him up from the dark." When Lu Jishi heard the name Shiyu, she gritted her teeth. "As long as I can make Shiyu suffer, I don't mind working with anyone. What do you want me to do?" Tong Bing showed viciousness in his eyes as he looked into the distance. "You wait for my news. I will let you know when I need your help. Don't let anyone know our plan." Not far behind Lu Jishi, Caillou stood beside Lu Jishi's bodyguards. Looking at the two people whispering at a low voice, a dark light flashed in his eyes. At this moment, the battle situation in the distance changed again. After Nangong Hua took off the gloves, the hands full of scales suddenly swelled. Behind Nangong Hua, there were countless similar ghost claw shadows rushed toward Heshi. Chapter 1524, You are the same. Zheng Shouyue and the others couldn't see how bad Shiyu's situation was at this time. If she really got hit, Shiyu would cripple even if he didn't die. Zheng Shouyue's mind was buzzing with wild thoughts. He rushed forward almost without thinking. However, the moment he touched the swaying ghost claw shadows, he felt a burst of tearing pain all over his body. Then he screamed and got knocked away. Nangong Hua sneered. He didn't bother these ants from the lower realm. All he wanted was Shiyu. Even if he couldn't kill him, he would at least tear off his hands and feet, break his meridians, and make him unable to grow again. The black ghost claw shadows fell, but the expected sound of flesh and blood being torn apart did not come. Nangong Hua only felt a huge pressure rushing toward his face, causing a suffocating pain in his chest. His body instinctively retreated quickly. Heshi's frail body was embraced in a warm and broad embrace. The breath of that embrace was so familiar, so reassuring for her, as if she had found a shelter. Nangong Yu hugged her frail body tightly, fearing for a while. He lowered his head and said in a hoarse voice, "Shir, I'm sorry. I didn't protect you well." Heshi buried her head in his arms and rubbed her face coquettishly, then she said in annoyance, "It's all your fault. If you didn't arbitrarily announce the marriage, I wouldn't have been entangled by so many people. Even your family members came here to kill me. Do they deserve to be my family?" Nangong Yu sneered. Looking down at the girl's pale face, he felt full of guilt and pity. He whispered in her ear, "Yes, it's all my fault. When we're married, you can punish me however you want. Well, it's best to be in bed." Heshi blushed and kicked him angrily, trying to kick him away, but her spiritual power and physical strength had not yet recovered and her whole body was limp like a ball of water, so kicking seemed like flirting with him. The people watching not far away seemed to see pink bubbles popping out from them. Suddenly someone from the Huang medical branch snorted coldly, "Who the hell said that our Shiyu isn't worthy of His Highness King of Hell? Don't the person who said that feel blind?" Many people in Miracle Healer Academy who originally despised Shiyu for hooking up with His Highness King of Hell couldn't help swallowing at this moment. They obviously hated same-sex relationship, but looking at the sweet scene in front of them, they somehow felt an indescribable harmony, as if Shiyu and Nangong Yu belonged to each other naturally. "Nangong Yu, you unfilial son, is this how you treat your elders and your uncle?" Nangong Hua glared at Nangong Yu coldly. The ghost claw shadows behind him seemed to feel the master's anger and swayed wildly. The pair of hands with scales clenched tightly, making click sounds. Nangong Yu's attitude of completely ignoring him completely angered the current family master of the Nangong family. Nangong Yu held Heshi with one hand as he glanced at Nangong Hua and smiled mockingly, "Elders deserve respect only if they look like elders. Second uncle, did you forget that I said before that the only one I'm marrying is Shiyu? If anyone dares to stop me, I will make them pay a terrifying price. Even you, my dear uncles, are the same." Chapter 1525, Who else dares to touch, and you? Nangong Yu turned his gaze on Zheng Luo and said with an eerie killing intent, "What are you, you dare to hurt my wife? Have you ever thought of the consequences?" Before Nangong Yu finished speaking, his figure suddenly flashed. A power force was charged in his hand and swung toward Zheng Luo's face fiercely. Zheng Luo let out a scream. He was sent into mid-air, then he fell heavily again. When he landed, everyone saw that his face was covered in blood, and the skin on his face was cracked in several places. The most frightening thing was that all of Zheng Luo's teeth had all fallen off. Martial artists had spiritual power that could enhance self-recovery. External trauma was generally no problem, but for broken arms and missing legs, except for doctors who truly had godly medical skills, others couldn't treat them. The same was true for teeth that were knocked out. Zheng Luo looked at his teeth that fell out all over the floor and opened his mouth. Hearing the sound of his panting and thinking that a soul-splitting stage martial artist like him was humiliated like this in the lower realm, he fainted suddenly. You! Zheng Luo is the confidant of our Nangong family, you. Nangong Hua was trembling with anger, unable to speak. But Nangong Yu sneered and said, I spared his life for the sake of my grandmother. If you feel dissatisfied, why don't I screw his head off right now? I want to see who dares to touch the person I, Nangong Yu, want to marry. These words were not just for Nangong Hua. His cold gaze swept over everyone around, including Lu Zixi and Tong Bing, whose faces could hardly be seen in the distance. Everyone caught by this sight couldn't help but tremble all over. If Shiyu was scary, then His Highness King of Hell, who was now recognized as the #1 person in the Miluo continent, was absolutely terrifying. He was so horrifying that no one could raise a trace of resistance. But Nangong Hua refused to accept it. I'm from the upper realm Siam continent, I'm the master of the Nangong family, and I'm Nangong Yu's uncle. Why should I be humiliated by a junior? Why should I be intimidated by Nangong Yu? Nangong Hu took a deep breath, and his eyes were filled with ominous light. Not only the ghost claw phantasms behind him didn't disappear, but they even became more rampant and solid. He looked coldly at Nangong Yu and Shiyu, who was in his arms, and said grimly, You can marry any woman. Your second uncle will not interfere, but the premise it must be a woman. What is this thing? A toy boy? You can play, but if you want to marry him, your second uncle and grandmother absolutely disagree. Do you want our Nangong family to lose face in front of the world? Nangong Yu sneered, What are you, Nangong Hua? You bowed your head in front of that woman Lu Wushuang, lying at her feet like a dog and listening to her. Do you think you and the current Nangong family have any face? Nangong Hua took a sharp breath. He knew that Nangong Yu had been investigating the cause of his parents' death, but he didn't know how much he had found. Does he know everything? Nangong Hua was flustered, then a strong killing intent rose in his mind. He said coldly, Since you are so stubborn, then don't blame uncle for being rude. After finishing speaking, he waved his hand, and the martial artists at the peak of the nascent soul stage lined up behind him. The leader of them was 1 foot stepping into the soul-splitting stage. Chapter 1526, Void Spirit Shield. Nangong Hua said in a deep voice, Catch that Shiyu, if anyone obstructs or resists, kill. Yes, family master. Nangong Yu's eyes turned cold. He was about to kill the guards of the Nangong family first, but a fierce ghost claw attack from Nangong Hua roared over. Nangong Hua had already thought clearly, since his nephew valued Shiyu so much, at least he had to control Shiyu first. No matter how high Nangong Yu's cultivation level was, Nangong Hua was also at the soul-splitting stage. If he had to protect Shiyu, he could never be his opponent. In the end, both of them would die. But if he let go of Shiyu and fought with him, the guards of Nangong family would capture Shiyu alive. Nangong Hua sneered. No matter what, Nangong Yu and Shiyu can't escape from me. The howling ghost claws with by murderous vibe rushed toward Nangong Yu and Heshi. But Heshi suddenly pushed Nangong Yu out. Nangong Yu didn't show any surprise. His body flickered. The black long sword in his hand unsheathed as he rushed toward Nangong Hua's guards. Seeing this, Nangong Hua was overjoyed. Is Nangong Yu stupid? He actually left Shiyu to attack those guards. Does he think Shiyu can resist my attack? But at the next moment, a scene that horrified Nangong Hua happened. The ghost claw phantasm seemed to hit a wall and be bounced away when approaching Shiyu. Moreover, the bouncing force even made Nangong Hua take a step back. Heshi looked at Nangong Hua's embarrassed face leisurely and indifferently, but a half-smile awoke on her mouth. What's going? What the hell did this Shiyu do? Nangong Hua was startled and suspicious. A hint of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. The hands that returned to normal size enlarged and turned into terrifying ghost claws again. The onlookers only felt that a shadow flashed in front of them, and a violent attack was launched toward Shiyu. Be careful, Shiyu. Terrified screams sounded one after another. Zheng Shouyue and the students from Huang Medical Branch turned pale with fright. Even Qing Wan yelled with a pale face, "Master, hurry, help." However, the young man's frail body wasn't torn into pieces as they thought. Nangong Hua's attack caused a rumbling noise when landing in front of Shiyu. The aftermath of the attack that leaked out made people tremble all over. However, none of the attacks fell on Shiyu. Amidst the violent storm, the peerless young man smiled leisurely. He even had the leisure to straighten his own clothes. Impossible. How is this possible? How? Nangong Hua's entire face twisted. His face was full of anger and disbelief. He couldn't believe that his attack couldn't hurt a gold core stage kid at all. Suddenly, Nangong Hualing looked closely at Heshi's surroundings. Only then did he realize that the young man's body was covered with a layer of transparent void spirit shield. It was almost firmly attached to the young man's body, and the fluctuation of spiritual power was almost non-existent that Nangong Hua didn't notice the void spirit shield at all. However, even the soul-splitting stage martial artist couldn't cast such a void spirit barrier, let alone Nangong Yu. Chapter 1527, Disciple and Wine. Nangong Hua was astounded. He looked around in panic and shouted, "Who is it? Which senior is it? Stop being sneaky and show yourself. Why are you protecting a toy boy from the lower realm? Bah, you bullied my darling disciple, and you still have the nerve to ask me why. Do you believe I will cut off you bastards' heads and kick like balls?" Nangong Hua suddenly heard the voice coming from above, but even if he gathered spiritual power in his eyes, he couldn't see anyone, making him even more panic. Just as he was about to speak, an upside-down human head suddenly appeared in front of him. An old face with a gray beard and hair was facing him upside down, looking at him with disgust. Then, he burped a mouthful of alcohol directly on Nangong Hua's face. Nangong Hua was terrified by this sudden scene. He backed away in quick steps, stumbled, and almost fell to the ground in embarrassment. The old man who was floating upside down in the air smiled, turned over in the air, landed on the ground, and ran straight toward Heshi. "Yo, my adorable disciple. Long time no see. I really miss you." Heshi looked at him teasingly. She said with a clear and sweet voice, "Master, are you missing me? Or my wine?" "Ha ha ha." The old man scratched his hair and laughed awkwardly. "The wines will be finished no matter how many wines there are. After drinking all the wines, I will think of you. There is no difference between thinking about wine and thinking about you, right?" Heshi's mocking expression couldn't hold back any longer. She smirked and showed a delightful smile. "Got it, I just made a lot of new wines recently. I'm sure Master will be satisfied." She knew that her master of course didn't come just for the wine, otherwise he would not have appeared at this timing. He probably heard the news about Nangong Yu's marriage, and he knew Nangong Yu's identity, so he purposely came here to support her. These words from Heshi were more comfortable than telling 10,000 words of flattery to the old man. "My disciple is really the best." At this time, Nangong Hua looked at the old man as if he had seen a ghost. His finger pointing at the old man was trembling as he stammered, You are Immortal Xianqing." The old man looked at him with disgust and put his hands on his hips as he said, "You were the one who attacked my darling disciple, and you scolded me for being sneaky?" Nangong Hua was dumbstruck. All the Siam continent people present, including Yun Jingxue who had a lumpy head, all showed incredible shocked expressions. No one in Siam continent really didn't know about Immortal Xianqing. Its strength can be compared with Divine Moon Palace's venerable Huiyu, and Lu family's old monsters. The Nangong family and the Yun family were just small families attached to the Lu family, but they had never even met the master of the Lu family, let alone a powerhouse like Immortal Xianqing whose whereabouts were erratic. But this powerhouse expert told them that Shiyu, that young man from the lower realm who they regarded as a toy boy, was his disciple. How could everyone not be shocked? No wonder that this Shiyu has such a powerful ability at such a young age. If his talent is ordinary, how can Immortal Xianqing accept him as disciple? Chapter 1528, Deserved to be slapped. Immortal Xianqing squinted his eyes, glanced at Nangong Huazheng Luo and the guards who fought with Nangong Yu, and said with a cold voice, "All of you are really getting bolder. Don't you forget that the one gave the order that martial artists on the upper realm plane are not allowed to enter and leave the lower plane at will, let alone attack the people in the lower plane? Are you not afraid of being annihilated for acting recklessly in Miluo continent?" When Immortal Xianqing said that, Nangong Hua's body visibly trembled. Deep fear was shown in his eyes. That was awe and fear 100 times stronger than facing Immortal Xianqing. In Siam continent, no one dared to violate that godlike existence, no one. However, the godlike person had disappeared for decades. Maybe he would never appear again. That was why more and more people no longer obeyed his orders. Thinking of this, Nangong Hua felt better. He forced a smile and said, "Immortal Xianqing, don't be angry. It's not just our Nangong family who go in and out of the Miluo continent at will. Isn't the Green Vince clan acting recklessly in this continent too? If the one still exists, can the Green Vince clan survive until now?" Immortal Xianqing did not refute, but he only smiled meaningfully. "I hope you will not regret it in the future." Just as they were talking, the last guard of the Nangong family was defeated. Nangong Yu leisurely walked back to Heshi's side. When he was about to embrace his beloved, Immortal Xianqing turned around and launched a gust of wind with his sleeve. Nangong Yu was pushed back a few steps by the strong wind, and his face turned grim instantly. Immortal Xianqing snorted, "Boy of the Nangong family, you actually let your bastard relatives bully my darling disciple, and now you still want to get close to my darling disciple, in your dream. If it weren't for your dead father and your grandmaster, I will beat you together." Nangong Yu stared back in displeasure and said coldly, "Old man, even without you, I can protect Xi'er well. You'd better go back where you come from." As he said that, he ignored Immortal Xianqing's prying eyes, hugged Heshi, and gave Immortal Xianqing a provocative look. Immortal Xianqing was so furious that his beard trembled, but seeing his disciple's obedient and sweet appearance in the brat's arms, he felt that even if he beat Nangong Yu, it would be a futile effort. Immediately, he glared fiercely at Nangong Hua, venting his anger on these guys. Nangong Hua was trembling all over. He endured the unwillingness and fear in his mind for a long while before bowing respectfully and saying, "Immortal Xianqing, it's all my fault. I didn't expect Xiyu to be your disciple." "Sorry." Immortal Xianqing flicked his sleeve and slapped Nangong Hua hard on the face twice. Although these slaps did not use spiritual power, they were a great humiliation to Nangong Hua, the family master, especially in front of the lower realm trash. Immortal Xianqing stroked his beard and laughed, "Oh, how refreshing." Sure enough, the people in the Nangong family, from top to bottom, from the old to the young, are not good things. All of you deserve to be slapped. As he spoke, he gave Nangong Yu a side glance. Nangong Hua's face turned green and pale. The shame and anger in his eyes almost burned out his reason. However, Immortal Xianqing's strength was higher than him. No matter how much dissatisfaction he had, he could only suppress it. Chapter 1529, Match-up. He glanced at Nangong Yu and Heshi who were embracing each other, then he respectfully said to Immortal Xianqing, "Immortal Xianqing, it's not that I want to target your disciple. It's just that you saw it too. My nephew Nangong Yu actually wants to marry your disciple Xiyu. This is really ridiculous. I went into conflict with Xiyu because I was shocked. I believe Immortal Xianqing will not agree on this marriage, right?" "What do you mean by that?" Nangong Hua babbled so many words, but Immortal Xianqing only heard one meaning. "You mean that my disciple is not good enough for your nephew?" "Bah, is there anyone my disciple can't match? As long as she likes it, I will support her." Nangong Hua's face distorted for a while. He didn't know whether Immortal Xianqing was pretending to be stupid or deliberately messing around. He gritted his teeth and said, "Both of them are men. Don't Immortal Xianqing think that it is inappropriate for two men to get married? Who will inherit yours legacy?" "Immortal Xianqing, don't you worry that Shiyu will have no successors? Immortal Xian Qing was taken aback at first, then he laughed out loud. His beard and eyebrows trembled due the laugh as if he heard the funniest joke in the world. After laughing enough, he examined Heshi and Nan Gongyu before said leisurely, "What's wrong? As long as my disciple likes it, let alone one man, even if he wants 100 men, I won't stop him. What's more, it's clear that your Nangong boy is pestering my disciple every day. If you dare, let Nangongyu stop following my disciple. Why are you Nangong family bullying my disciple? Is it because he has no background? Let me tell you, Shiyu is my only darling disciple. If anyone dares to bully him, I will teach you a great lesson." Immortal Xian Qing's idea was very simple. Even if my darling disciple is a man, it is Nangongyu matching up to him. How can you look down on him? Since you all despise my apprentice, I won't tell you that she is a woman. Just go crazy yourself. As for Nangongyu. Xian Qing snorted. His faint gaze pierced at the man occupying his disciple. "I warn you, if you want to marry my darling disciple, wait until you get rid of these people first." Nangongyu was about to answer, then Nangonghua suddenly looked at Nangongyu sullenly. He said in a deep voice, "Nangongyu, are you really planning to marry a man back? Even if you don't think about Nangong family, don't you worry that your grandma will be sad if she finds out?" After speaking, Nangonghua paused and said meaningfully, "Your grandmother thought that you were going to marry a pretty lady, so she came here especially from Siam continent. I dare not let her know that her good grandson is going to marry a man." Nangongyu was taken aback. He murmured, "Grandmother also came to Miracle Healer Academy?" "Of course, he is in the Mojing Pavilion now." Seeing Nangongyu's expression, Nangonghua felt complacent. Sure enough, old lady Nangong is Nangongyu's weakness. As long as Nangongyu showed hesitation, Immortal Xian Qing would definitely burst into anger. The marriage would naturally be cancelled. Otherwise, after learning about Shiyu's background, Nangonghua really didn't know what to do. Unexpectedly, Nangongyu was just stunned for a moment before saying firmly, "The person I want to marry is Shiyu. It doesn't matter whether he is a man or a woman. I believe Grandma will understand me." Chapter 1530, Kill. Grandma came to the lower realm because of my marriage. Nangongyu felt warm and moved. He had already decided to meet his grandmother in a while and tell her Shier's true gender. He could disregard anyone's opinions and lives in Nangong family, but old lady Nangong was his only concern in Nangong family. Nangongyu hoped that his marriage with Shiyu would get her sincere blessing. Before Nangonghua could speak, Lu Yun beside Yun Jingxue suddenly yelled hysterically, "No! The old lady will never agree. Shiyu is not only a man, but he is also flirtatious. He has ambiguous relationships with several men. Such a scum should be locked up in a joy house to be played by those men. How can be he young Master Yu's wife? Master Yu should marry our young lady." Before Lu Yun finished speaking, Nangongyu launched a dark red light from his hand. In the blink of an eye, Yun Jingxue didn't even have time to scream, and Nangonghua didn't even have time to stop the attack. The light shot through Lu Yun's chest and burst her heart. Lu Yun covered her heart, opened his mouth wide, and made a broken voice, "You, kill." Before she finished speaking, she was dead. Nangongyu's face was gloomy. There seemed to be a storm in his eyes. Immortal Xian Qing and Heshi also frowned. The surrounding crowd was all shocked. In the distance, Tong Bing and Lu Zhishi had quietly left. Lu Zhishi gritted her teeth and said, "That scum Shiyu really has a good master. He actually didn't suffer this time. How lucky is he?" A trace of resentment flashed in Tong Bing's eyes, then it disappeared and turned into a deep smile. "Forget it, anyway, we didn't intend to use that idiot Yun Jingxue to deal with Shiyu. The good show we prepared for Shiyu is still coming. Speaking of which, the medicine from your doctor's association is really good." That Lu Yun's last performance must have planted seeds of doubt in everyone's hearts. When our plan is implemented, I believe that even the students and elders of Miracle Healer Academy will believe that Shiyu is a promiscuous scum. Lu Jishi laughed loudly. Her beautiful face distorted due to overexcitement. That's our Doctors Association's unique drug. My dad doesn't even have much in hand, so how can it not be good? As long as that scum Shiyu can get a miserable end, not to mention the unique drug, I don't mind even if losing the entire Doctors Association. Tong Bing's eyelashes drooped slightly, and his mouth evoked a sinister smile. Don't worry, Fairy Jishi, as long as our plan goes well, not to mention Nangong Yu and Miracle Healer Academy, even Shiyu's master, Immortal Xian Qing, will be shamed to have such a disciple. Think of the old man who was feared by the Nangong family, and his terrifying strength. Tong Bing felt hot in his heart. When Shiyu is eliminated, I will serve Immortal Xian Qing attentively. I believe that Immortal Xian Qing must be able to see my talent and character and finally accept him as a disciple. As long as I become Immortal Xian Qing's disciple, I will have a solid background. At that time, Brother Xian Mu will definitely look up to me with admiration. Lu Jishi bit her nails, made the hysterical laughter again, and muttered, Shiyu dies. Tong Bing said with a low smile, Fairy Jishi, let's wait for the good show. Not far away, Caillou looked at them from behind and slowly clenched the powerless hands hanging by his sides. Chapter 1531, Little Monster. After the chaos, Nan Gonghua and the others fled. The students of Miracle Healer Academy also dispersed. Nangong Yu hugged Heshi and whispered, Sheer, I want you to meet my grandmother. She is the only person in the Nangong family who truly cares about me. I want to share with her that you are the woman in my life, and I want to tell her that I want to marry you as my one and only wife. Sheer, are you willing? Heshi smiled slightly. When she was about to say yes, Immortal Xian Qing pulled Heshi behind him, glared at Nangong Yu, and said, No. As I said, you can only marry my disciple after you sort out the mess. Moreover, my Shiyu is a maiden. Give her the respect she deserves. Your uncle has belittled my disciple to such an extent, how can you still let her go there? How can my disciple be so cheap? Immortal Xian Qing waved his hand as he made the call, I can allow my apprentice to visit your grandmother. However, I need the Nangong family to formally invite my disciple with proper etiquette, lest people say that my disciple is flattering your Nangong family again. As he said that, he turned his head and glared at Heshi, if you dare to follow the boy secretly, I won't recognize you as my disciple. Heshi smiled helplessly, but she also knew that Immortal Xian Qing had good intentions, so she could only shrug her shoulders toward Nangong Yu. Nangong Yu looked serious, nodded, and said, Immortal Xian Qing is right. I will go back and communicate with my grandmother first, then I will formally invite Sheer to meet her. I will never let Sheer suffer any grievances. Immortal Xian Qing nodded in satisfaction, well, you are still not hopelessly bad yet. After Nangong Yu left, Heshi took Immortal Xian Qing back to the dormitory. Xian Mu had gone elsewhere. His whereabouts had been erratic these 2 days. The dormitory of Huang Medical Branch was simple and shabby, but Immortal Xian Qing didn't mind. He enjoyed the delicious foods and wines prepared by Heshi. After eating full, he asked Heshi in detail about what happened during this period. Immortal Xian Qing's expression became a bit serious when he heard the big commotion Heshi made when she advanced to the gold core stage. He probed into Heshi's body with spiritual power for a while. He felt that her spiritual power was at least 3 times more than ordinary gold core stage martial artists. He said with a complicated expression, my darling disciple, I already consider myself well informed, but I've never seen a little monster like you. Chaos Dantian already gave you a better talent than others, but in just 1 year, you skipped several levels in a row, from the foundation establishment stage to the gold core stage, and it is even the gold core stage perfect stage. If people know about such advancement speed, even the talented disciples of the big sects in Siam continent can only sigh in shame. Heshi smiled slightly and said without shame, if I'm not talented, how will Master accept me as your disciple? Immortal Qianqing was happy by her words, then he looked worried. The first time I saw you, I felt that the spiritual power on your body seemed to contain the breath of life. It is the breath that someone with wood spiritual root can exude. Now that you have advanced to the gold core stage, I'm even more sure now. My darling disciple, in addition to the dual sky spiritual root of water and fire, do you still possess the wood spiritual root? He suddenly raised her head and met Immortal Qianqing's deep eyes. She just hesitated for a moment before she nodded. God! Immortal Qianqing let out a low cry as if he was looking at a monster. Chapter 1532, Purple Jade Phoenix Hairpin. Does this little girl know what it means to have a sky with spiritual root? Even in Siam continent, I have never heard of a person who can have a 100% pure sky spiritual root. However, if Immortal Qianqing knows that what she possessed was not only the wood sky spiritual root, but also a wood source that made all creatures go crazy for it, what would his expression be? After being surprised, Immortal Qianqing's expression turned serious. You must not let anyone know about your wood sky spiritual root, especially the people in the upper realm. She smiled and nodded. She would not say that Nangong you knew from the beginning, lest her master get mad again. Immortal Qianqing was serious for a while, then he immediately lay down on the bed. While gnawing on the chicken leg, he shook his head and sighed. I didn't expect that you would save that old Hui Yu and establish a tie with him. That Hui Yu looks kind on the surface, but in fact, he is extremely difficult to please. I didn't expect him to be impressed with you. By the way, you said that he gave you a gift? He took out the purple jade hairpin that Venerable Hui Yu let Wei Cheng Yuan deliver and handed it to Immortal Qianqing. Immortal Qianqing narrowed his eyes and glanced into the jade box, but this glance made him jump up in shock. Purple jade phoenix hairpin? What's wrong? He blinked. Anything problem with this hairpin? Big problem. Immortal Qianqing looked at He with a complicated expression, making a chewing sound. The purple jade phoenix hairpin is very famous in Siam continent. Not to mention its powerful talisman array, which increases the cast speed, flying speed, and movement speed of those who wore it. Just that exquisite style can make women scramble for it. But in Siam continent, few women would wear this purple jade phoenix hairpin. Hui Yi actually gifted this thing to Shiyu? What the hell is this old Hui Yu planning? Facing Heshi's questioning eyes, Immortal Qianqing scratched his beard for a long time before saying, Purple Jade Phoenix Hairpin and Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress are originally a set. It is said that the purple hairpin and heavenly dress complement each other and can emit colorful light, which is too beautiful to behold. However, few people dare to wear it. Why? In Siam continent, many women tried to wear the purple jade phoenix hairpin and phoenix feather heavenly dress, but when they wear the heavenly dress, it will become dull. Not to mention the colorful light, it is even worse than coarse linen dress. It will also accentuate the ugliness of those women. TSK, you know how much those female cultivators love beauty. Letting them wear a dress that will make them ugly is worse than killing them. So over time, this purple jade phoenix hairpin and phoenix feather heavenly dress have become treasures that many women love and hate at the same time. There was another reason that Immortal Qianqing didn't say. There are rumors that a woman who can wear the phoenix feather heavenly dress will become. He smiled lowly and shut the jade box, interrupting Immortal Qianqing's reverie. Whether it makes me look beautiful or ugly, it doesn't matter to me. If it's really useless, at worst, I'll find a chance to sell it. In the Mojing Pavilion. Yun Jingxue stared straight at a jade box that old lady Nangong opened. Inside was a dazzlingly beautiful dress that exuded a radiant light. Yun Jingxue believed that there was no woman who would not want to wear such a dress, and no woman would not want to stand in the spotlight. Chapter 1533, Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress. Old lady, is this the legendary Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress? Yun Jingxue exclaimed. Old lady, are you going to give this dress to Jingxue? Old lady Nangong sighed and said, Jingxue, you won't like this dress. This Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress has been in our Nangong family for decades. Although no one can wear it, I still regarded it as a family heirloom. It's a pity that Lu Wushuang wanted it specifically, so I brought this piece of clothes to Miluo continent. Yun Jingxue became anxious. She said in a high-pitched voice, "Old lady, how could Jingxue not like this dress? Such a beautiful wedding dress, if Jingxue could wear it to marry cousin Yu, how wonderful would it be? Lu Wushuang is so old already, why does she want this beautiful dress?" However, as soon as Yun Jingxue was about to say that, she swallowed the words back. Not to mention that Yun family was far inferior to Lu family, her own life was still in Lu Wushuang's hands. Old lady Nangong looked at her with pity and said with a half-smile, "If you don't believe me, Jingxue, try wearing this phoenix feather heavenly dress." Yun Jingxue was full of excitement. She couldn't wait to go behind the screen and put on the phoenix feather heavenly dress. This was also where phoenix feather heavenly dress was different from other clothes, it couldn't be worn by spells. A moment later, Yun Jingxue came out from behind the screen with a face full of anticipation. When she moved his feet, the ornaments on the phoenix feather heavenly dress made a pleasant jingle sound, just like the sound of heaven. However, as soon as old lady Nangong saw it, her face became stiff and her mouth twitched. She originally planned to say a few words of flattery, but she couldn't say a word. But the maid standing behind old lady Nangong couldn't help but burst out laughing when she saw her appearance. Yun Jingxue's complexion suddenly became extremely ugly. She suppressed her anger and embarrassment and asked the maid to bring the glass mirror. When Yun Jingxue saw her own appearance in the glazed mirror, her face was distorted. The dress she was wearing wasn't gorgeous at all. It was just an inconspicuous sackcloth. The coarse sackcloth tightly wrapped her waist and legs, which set off her thick waist and short legs, making her figure ugly. Her graceful figure was gone. The most frightening thing was that her hair that was burned by Shiyu's flame was originally covered up with spiritual power, but it was exposed after wearing this phoenix feather heavenly dress. The bumpy scalp looked like it had been bitten by a dog. The woman in the glass mirror in front of her was even inferior to a county girl, let alone a beauty in the Siam continent. Ah! Yun Jingxue screamed in horror. She fled behind the screen desperately, frantically tore off the dress, and shouted, "What kind of shit dress is this?" The phoenix feather heavenly dress was quickly taken off without any damage. After leaving Yun Jingxue's body, it immediately shone brightly again. Old lady Nangong obsessively put the phoenix feather heavenly dress back into the jade box. Her vaguely contemptuous gaze swept over Yun Jingxue, and it became kind again. With tears of grievance in her eyes, Yun Jingxue was about to speak. Suddenly, a guard's voice came from outside the door, "Old lady, young master Yu has come to see you." Old lady Nangong straightened up excitedly and shouted, "Quick, let Yu in." Chapter 1534, Grandma understands. There was a gloomy light in Yun Jingxue's eyes. Of course she knew what Nangong Yu was here for. Remembering Tong Bing's instructions, she moved closer to old lady Nangong's ear and whispered a few words. Old lady Nangong's eyes turned grim, but a generous and kind smile appeared on her mouth. She grabbed Yun Jingxue's hand and patted it gently. "Don't worry Jingxue, I know better than anyone that what is best for Yuer and the Nangong family. Yuer will definitely marry you, but you have to be patient, understand?" Knowing that old lady Nangong had agreed to their plan, Yun Jingxue smiled triumphantly and sinisterly before leaving. "Shiyu, you must be very proud for burning my hair and humiliating me in front of everyone, right? However, soon I will make you cry. Your end will be 100 times worse than mine." Nangong Yu walked into the room quickly. When he saw the old lady sitting upright, looking at him with a kind smile, he put up a sincere smile. He knelt down on both knees and solemnly kowtowed to old lady Nangong. "Grandson pays respects to grandma. Get up, get up." Old lady Nangong excitedly stood up from her seat with tears in her eyes and helped Nangong Yu up. Nangong Yu looked at old lady Nangong's gray hair at the sideburns, and he looked a little guilty. Old lady Nangong's cultivation was only gold core stage. Now she had lived for 300 years, her lifespan had slowly come to an end. As a grandson, he stayed in Miluo continent because of the blood feud of his parents. He had never been filial to his grandmother. Only now did he realize that his grandmother was so old. Nan Gongyu held the old lady's old hand and said in a low voice, "Grandmother, after grandson gets married and kills the valley master of the Thousand Poison Valley to avenge father, I will go to Siam continent and stay by your side in the future." Hearing that Nan Gongyu said that he was going to kill the valley master of the Thousand Poison Valley, old lady Nangong's expression froze visibly. However, she quickly covered it up and pressed Nan Gongyu's hand. With tears in his eyes, she choked up and said, "Okay. Grandma believes in you. Grandma has been looking forward to the day of reunion with you." The two sat down and talked about some of their daily lives. Old lady Nangong asked Nan Gongyu how he had been in the past few years and whether he had been wronged. Nan Gongyu answered patiently one by one. When it was about time, Nan Gongyu coughed lightly with a slightly shy expression, "Grandmother, about Shiyu, the sweetheart whom grandson wants to marry. Grandson wants to tell you that, you don't need to say any more." Old lady Nangong grabbed his hand and looked at him with trusting eyes. "I've heard that Shiyu is a man. Grandma, listen to me, in fact, listen to your grandmother first." Tears slowly welled up in old lady Nangong's eyes. Her expression was full of regret and sadness. "When I first heard Jingxue say that you were going to marry a man, grandmother was really very disappointed. Because grandma hoped so much that you would get married and have children to carry on the family line for your father. But later, grandma figured it out. You want to marry Shiyu so much, it must be because he is a good boy and you really like him, right?" Nan Gongyu nodded with a somewhat dumbfounding expression. "Grandma, I was just about to tell you, needless to say, grandma understands." Old lady Nangong smiled kindly. Her eyes were full of love. Chapter 1535, Are you stupid? As long as you like Shiyu, as long as this Shiyu is a good boy, what does it matter if he is a man? Do you think grandma would make the same mistake of the past again? Because of my stubbornness, I did my best to stop your father and mother, but I killed both of them. No. Grandma will never make the same mistake I made back then. Do you really like that boy named Shiyu? Do you want to marry him?" Nan Gongyu gave a low laugh and gave up explaining that Shiyu was a girl. "Grandma supports and trusts me to the point that even if I'm marrying a man, she is still standing by my side. This feeling really moves me deeply. Moreover, I can also let Shiyu know that not all of my relatives reject her. There is someone who really likes her. After getting married, I will bring Shier to serve tea to his grandmother. When the grandmother finds out the identity of Shier woman, she will be very happy, right?" Thinking of this, Nan Gongyu smiled and nodded heavily. "Of course, grandma. I will marry no one other than Shier in my life." "Great. Great. Grandma will support you." Old lady Nangong laughed. "Then why don't you bring that boy named Shiyu to grandma?" Nan Gongyu pursed his lips, the smile on his face faded a little, and a dark light flashed in his eyes. Old lady Nangong immediately thought of something, and she snorted. "Did your uncles go to trouble Shiyu because of his status?" "Humph, don't worry about them. Grandma will ensure that no one can stop you from marrying anyone." Nan Gongyu smiled, stood up, and bowed deeply to old lady Nangong. "Grandma, grandson will go and ask Shiyu to see you now." "Wait a minute." Old lady Nangong immediately grabbed Nan Gongyu's hand and said with a frown, "You don't need to explain. Your uncles must have angered that boy named Shiyu, right?" Nan Gongyu pursed his lips and remained silent. "These troublemakers." Old lady Nangong patted heavily on the side, then she smiled. "Why don't we do this? Tomorrow I will host a banquet and invite the elders and deans of Miracle Healer Academy, plus the people of our Nangong family. By then, we will clarify Shiyu's identity to everyone. This way we won't wrong that boy. What do you think?" Nan Gongyu was stunned for a long time when he heard the words. It took a while for him to say in a low voice, "Thank you, Grandma. I'll tell Shir right away. How can I let you go?" Old lady Nangong laughed, patted his hand, and said, "You have just left him for just a short while, and you start to miss him already?" Grandma will personally invite him to show my respect. As for you, stay here obediently for Grandma today. After tomorrow, when your relationship is finalized, Grandma will discuss the wedding date with Shiyu's master. By then, are you still afraid that this wife will run away? Nangong Yu's face was slightly red, but there was a deep joyful smile in his eyes. He nodded in response. As soon as he thought that tomorrow would be his engagement with Sheer, he couldn't restrain the joy in his heart. This day has finally come. After Nangong Yu left, old lady Nangong sat quietly in her seat without any expression on her face. After a while, the door was suddenly pushed open. Nangong Hua walked into the room frowning and asked bluntly, "Mother, I heard that you agree with Nangong Yu to marry that Shiyu as his wife? Are you stupid? That Shiyu is a man." Chapter 1536, Banquet. Old lady Nangong snorted and glanced at Nangong Hua with fierce gaze. "I haven't asked you yet. As a dignified cultivator from the upper realm, you actually embarrassed yourself in a place like Miluo continent. Do you know how much will our Nangong family's prestige be reduced when this gets to the Siam continent?" Nangong Hua looked extremely ugly when he thought of being threatened by Nangong Yu in public and slapped by immortal Xian Qing. Old lady Nangong sneered and said, "Don't worry about Shiyu's affairs. There's no way this kind of scum marries into my Nangong family. You just need to stand by and watch. Not everything has to be solved by force. Sometimes backstabbing hurts the most." Nangong Hua was overjoyed. When he was about to speak, old lady Nangong suddenly coughed violently. The coughing sound was heart-piercing. Her whole face was flushed red. The old lady seemed to have many wrinkles on her face as if it was an illusion. "Mother, are you okay? Get out. Get out now. Do you hear me?" After Nangong Hua went out, old lady Nangong took out a porcelain bottle from the storage space, poured the medicine powder in the porcelain bottle into a porcelain bowl, cut her own wrist, dripped blood in, and drank it. After drinking the blood, the wrinkles on old lady Nangong's face disappeared instantly. The originally gray temple hair became much darker. Looking at the porcelain vase in her hand, old lady Nangong looked complicated. After a long time, she murmured, "For eternal youth and immortality, can my grandson and Nangong family be more important? No one knows what it feels like to be from the upper realm but unable to break through to the nascent soul stage. When everyone around me is young and beautiful, I'm getting old and dying day by day. Lu Wushuang, who takes a fancy on my son, is even decades older than me. I'm the old lady of the Nangong family, and I will never accept dying of old age." In the early morning of the next day, after Heshi woke up from meditation, finished cleaning, and withdrew her consciousness from the void, she heard Qing Wan's voice. "Miss, there are people visiting outside the yard." The dormitory was empty. Xian Mu still hadn't come back. Immortal Xian Qing had been gone with a ring full of food and wine. Heshi was also extremely helpless toward her master. It was flattering to say that he was erratic like the divine dragon. He simply appeared for food, then he left after eating full. Thinking about it, Heshi couldn't help laughing herself. As soon as she walked out of the yard, Heshi saw an old woman dressed plainly but with a noble demeanor in her gestures. As soon as the old woman saw Heshi, she immediately smiled and bowed to her. "I'm Mammy Chi, maid of old lady Nangong. I came here especially to invite Mr. Shiyu to a banquet." "Old lady Nangong." Heshi blinked. "Isn't that Nangong Yu's grandmother?" It seems that she is the only relative of the Nangong family that Nangong Yu admits." Thinking of this, Heshi stopped putting on airs. Although there was not much expression on her face, she still respectfully bowed back. "Thank you, old lady, for your hospitality. It's just..." Before Heshi could finish speaking, Mammy Chi showed some understanding on her face and said with a light smile, "Mr. Shiyu, the old lady already knows about the matter between you and young Master Yu. She has agreed the marry between you and young Master Yu. So, today's banquet is not only our Nangong family's banquet, but it is also to announce the wedding news to everyone. Mr. Shiyu, are you willing to attend?" Chapter 1537, Something is Wrong. Hashi's expression froze. Hashi carefully observed Mammy Chi's expression. She noticed something peculiar with Mammy Chi's gaze beneath the smile. Wait, Mammy Chi still doesn't know my true identity? What's Nangong you up to? Wasn't he supposed to tell his grandmother about it? Wait a minute. If old lady Nangong didn't know my true gender, why would she agree to let Nangong you marry me? Is she that open-minded in her thinking? Hashi's mouth twitched slightly as her hair fluttered along the wind. Mammy Chi urged Hashi again and asked if she could invite her master to go with her. She coughed softly after recollecting her thoughts. Sorry, my master left earlier. I'll go with Mammy. Qing Wan tugged on Hashi's sleeve, simultaneously excited and nervous. Miss, are you going to really become our princess? Did you agree to the marriage? Hashi blushed and said softly, well, if I don't marry that guy, who else can I marry? Anyway, I will get married sooner or later, so why make it complicated? Tears of joy welled up in Qing Wan's eyes and streamed down her face. Qing Wan said incoherently, that's great. Master is so blessed, and other nonsense. It took a long time for her to recover. Then, she grabbed Hashi's sleeve. Miss, are you attending the banquet in this dress? Hashi froze for a moment, then looked down. Hashi wore the school uniform of Miracle Healer Academy. The uniform used white color as the base with dark blue thread embroidery of cloud patterns. It looked neither flashy nor dull but rather refreshing and elegant. Especially when paired with Gushi's mesmerizing and captivating face, it gave her an ethereal and enchanting aura. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Qing Wan was about to cry. There is nothing wrong with it, but this is men's clothing. It's also the most common men's clothing in Miracle Healer Academy. Hashi smiled and nodded. Do you want me to change into women's clothes? Are you not afraid of scaring old lady Nangong to death? After finishing speaking, Hashi quickly left with Mammy Chi, leaving Qing Wan alone. Since the Nangong family would be holding a banquet at Miracle Healer Academy, the event was set at the Mojing Pavilion. Mojing Pavilion and Beijing Pavilion had enchantments. Hashi had the inscribed Jade slip of Beijing Pavilion, but not Mojing Pavilion. When Hashi arrived before the Mojing Pavilion's barrier, Mammy Chi handed over an inscribed Jade slip to Hashi. She said with an amiable smile, Mr. Shiyu, your humble servant still has matters to attend to. Please enter the Mojing Pavilion first. There will be someone there to assist you. Hashi nodded. Mammy Chi smiled and disappeared in a flash. In Siam continent, even an old mammy of the Nangong family attained the peak level of the gold core stage. Despite so, the Nangong family could only be regarded as an insignificant small family in Siam continent. The evidence pointed out how Siam continent was completely at another level from Miluo continent, being more powerful and following the survival of the fittest rule strongly. Hashi smiled slightly, then she went through the barrier with Qing Wan. However, just after passing the barrier, Hashi was startled. She sensed something was wrong. The place before them was a gloomy and eerie emptiness, and the air was filled with sweltering heat. Hashi gathered spirit in her gaze. She discovered that the area was filled with formations, densely packed with complicated patterns. She hardly understood any of them. Chapter 1538, Aphrodisiac. Hashi tried to exert her spiritual power, but the formations immediately operated with luster flowing around the patterns. A heavy suction force took away her spiritual power completely. Hashi's expression became dignified and surprised. Obviously, she had fallen into someone's trap. The person knew her weaknesses. Hashi was proficient in many things but was lacking in the aspect of formations. Hashi took a few steps forward. She realized that not only her spiritual power was absorbed, but her stamina also depleted under the formations. Then, wisps of faint fragrance wafted in the air. This fragrance carried a hint of sweetness with a faint bloody pungent that was hard to notice by ordinary people. However, given Hashi's expertise, she could quickly identify it. It was rosemary, a neurotoxin that confused the mind and stimulated the nerves. Or, to put it more bluntly, it was an aphrodisiac. Even though He was aware of it, she inadvertently inhaled a wisp of the drug. Even though she held her breath immediately, the sweet aroma spread through her nose, gradually invading her brain and confusing her mind. The sound of faint footsteps came slowly from not far away. He looked over. She seemed to see Nangongyu slowly walking toward her from a distance with a doting smile. In Mojing Pavilion, the Nangong family's banquet was about to start. This time, the Nangong family invited almost all the elders of Miracle Healer Academy, as well as some elite students from various branches. In addition to the big shots from Miracle Healer Academy and Miracle Healer City, even representatives from the three major families, excluding the Feng family, also came. However, because the Nangong family's banquet was held in a hurry, the four major families could only send martial artists stationed in Miracle Healer City. No core figures were present. Old Lady Nangong sat at the main seat with a proud and kind smile. She received respectful greetings from Miracle Healer Academy's dean, Jean Licheng. Just as they were chatting, a servant's voice came from outside. President of the Doctors Association, Lu Shiyang, and the elder, Master Shukong, have arrived. Hearing Lu Shiyang's name, Nangong Hua narrowed his eyes. He had long known that the Doctors Association's president, who was well known in Miluo continent, had already joined the Green Vine clan. The Nangong family was a force belonging to the Lu family, and the two were in harmony. However, he didn't know why Lu Shiyang visited today. Just as he was thinking, a man wearing a scholar's robe with a gentle, elegant face slowly approached the hall. An old man with a white beard and hair exuding a noble air followed behind him. Then, there was a middle-aged man with a robust physique and a sallow complexion. Seeing this, Lu Zhishi, who was already in her seat, immediately ran over with a smile. She took Lu Shiyang's hand and said playfully, "Daddy, why didn't you tell me that you're coming?" Lu Shiyang patted Lu Zhishi with a gentle and elegant smile. Without saying much, he swiftly walked to the front of Old Lady Nangong and Nangong Hua before bowing respectfully to them with Lu Zhishi. Old Lady Nangong's face beamed with a smile as she praised Lu Zhishi with a few kind words before instructing the servants to guide them to their seats. Nangong Hua's eyes fell on the strange man with a sallow complexion. The aura emanating from this man was at least the intermediate level of the soul-splitting stage, which was almost on par with him. Chapter 1551, Recording Stone. Yun Jingxue impatiently shoved him. Suddenly, Tong Bing shook, emitting a spiritual power fluctuation. Immediately afterward, something in his hand lit up. A video projection flashed in the space above the hall. It was a barren courtyard, but no one paid attention to where the courtyard was. Instead, all the eyes focused on the center of the projection. Before Shiyu was a fat man who was gasping for breath. His eye was filled with lust as he lunged at Shiyu. Sure enough, that person was Nangong Xian. Everyone looked at each other in dismay, shocked by the sight in front of them. The members of the Huang medical branch clenched their fists. Some of them bit their lips so hard that they almost bled. Tong Bing looked at Heshi in panic as if he wanted to throw away the stone in his hand. "I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. I found this recording stone at the gate of the third master's courtyard. I only secretly took a glance. Sob, I'm just worried about third master. I didn't do this on purpose." The content in the projection was straightforward. Shiyu tried to dodge, but Nangong Xian pounced on her. Then, Shiyu's breathing became more and more rapid. She sweated profusely on her face. Later on, Nangong Xian grabbed a corner of Shiyu's clothes and yanked it, tearing off the Miracle Healer Academy uniform. Even the ring-shaped jade pendant was thrown to the ground by the frantic Nangong Xian. Nangong Yu's arms around Heshi tightened. His eyes on the projection were cold and deep, giving off a looming crimson light. However, he didn't act immediately and watched the projection coldly. Heshi held Nangong Yu's cold hand and patted it lightly. She smiled after noticing that his nerves were slowly relaxing. Then, the projection revealed a different shooting angle of the scene. The people in the projection were blurred with pillars blocking it from time to time. However, everyone could tell that the thinner man had lost his strength and was pinned to the ground by Nangong Xian. His clothes were torn into pieces, revealing the young man's thin, flexible, and fair body. Nangong Xian kept calling Shiyu. He pressed the naked young man under him, hurriedly tore off his clothes, and then pressed him down after a roar. The projection became more distant and blurred, but the moans and gaspings for breath were vividly clear. Everyone heard the young man wailing in the recording as Nangong Xian assaulted him. Nangong Xian, don't you dare. Nangong, you will not let you go. I'm the one he wants to marry. Nangong Xian assaulted the young man with a fascinated expression. He laughed wildly, you're already mine now. Do you truly believe that Nangong you would still marry someone like you, someone who's been used? Ha ha ha, sweetheart, you'd better behave and serve me well. That's your only future. Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1552, Male or Female, how about it? Does it feel good now? As the two engaged with each other passionately, the young man, who initially seemed to resist adamantly, started to lose himself, emitting moans and gasps that made one's heart flutter and cheeks blush. Everyone in the hall was dead silent. They couldn't believe their eyes. On the contrary, Qing Wan and Xian Wu looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. The person in the projection was a young man, but their princess was a woman. Who is the sly and despicable jerk that's stupid enough to record a video intending to frame our princess without even knowing whether our princess is a man or a woman? Qing Wan patted her chest. She suddenly noticed her hands were all sweaty, and even her forehead was covered in beads of sweat. At the beginning of the recording, when the person's clothes hadn't been torn off yet, Qing Wan thought it was Shiyu. The despair and fear in her heart almost made her want to scream out loud. It wasn't until the young man's naked body was revealed that she finally breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at Nangong Yu not far away, Qing Wan smacked her tongue. From the beginning of the video playback, she and Xian Wu were nervous. Everyone else looked shocked, but their master looked calm. His eye only contained Heshi, as if he didn't care about what was happening around him. Suddenly, someone shouted in disgust, Shiyu is so shameless. Just look at him, he's clearly enjoying it. I don't think the third master of the Nangong family violated him. It's more like Shiyu throwing himself to the third master. Qian Dazhuang was furious, pointing at the man and yelling, shut up. That young man is not Xiaoyu. Don't spread false rumors. I will beat you up. TCH, your excuses are pointless. Didn't you see Shiyu's face right at the beginning? The recording stone can't be faked. If that person isn't Shiyu, who would it be then? Moreover, there's the outfit and jade pendant evidence. Even the position of the blood stains on the clothing matches exactly with Shiyu. Who would believe you even if you said that person isn't Shiyu? TSK Tisk, it's one thing to be a toy boy for Nangong Yu, but he's still having an affair with Nangong Yu's uncle. That's too shameless. In my opinion, Shiyu wasn't willing. With Nangong Yu being so outstanding, how could he be interested in a fat pig like Nangong Xian? No matter if it was voluntary or forced, it had happened. Shiyu had been defiled. Do you think Shiyu still has the right to marry Nangong Yu? Given the video footage thus far, along with the recent discovery and Nangong Xian's behavior, most people in the hall now believe that Nangong Xian had violated Shiyu. Everyone was sneaking glances at Heshi with contempt, pity, and gloating in their eyes. Then, Tong Bing rushed toward Yun Jingxue, snatching the summoning stone from her hand and stuttering, "Stop it, don't play the recording stone anymore." Even if something did happen between Shiyu and the third master, broadcasting such footage is like forcing Shiyu to death, isn't it? This kind of filthy thing should not exist in this world. As Tong Bing said so, he harnessed the spiritual power in his hand to destroy the recording stone. However, a black light suddenly flashed before his spiritual power reached the recording stone. The recording stone in Tong Bing's hand disappeared. A spiritual pet resembling a little black dragon leisurely flew to He with the recording stone in its mouth and put the recording stone in her hand. Chapter 1553, Don't even think about it. He casually tossed the recording stone in her hand. Her gaze fell on the shocked Tong Bing. With a teasing smile, she said, "How can we just destroy such an exciting item? I haven't had enough of it. Wouldn't it be such a waste to destroy it?" What He said made everyone look at each other blankly, thinking that she had gone crazy. Only Tong Bing, who knew the inside story, frowned, grinding his teeth tightly. Then, he immediately calmed down, showing a weeping expression. "Shiyu, don't do this. I know you want to marry Nangongyu. However, you already belong to the third master. You can't change this fact even if you take the recording stone away. Could it be that you're still thinking of marrying the King of Hell despite everything? I don't think the King of Hell wants someone who has an affair with his uncle." Lu Zhishi put on a gentle and graceful look, stepped forward, and said, "Nangongyu, don't be mad. We know that Shiyu is not that kind of person. Nangong Xian must have forced himself on Shiyu. However, what's done is done." Yun Jingxue sneered from the bottom of her heart. She wore a virtuous expression. "Yes, cousin Yu, don't be sad. We can only blame Shiyu for being unlucky." Even old lady Nangong's eyes were red. She wiped her tears and choked up. Bastard, why do you have such a hard life? You finally met someone you like," and he, with a mocking smile, as she watched the people in the hall performing their acts. Hearing old lady Nangong's words, she pushed away Nangongyu's hand that was holding her, looked sideways at him, and said with a teasing smile, "Your Highness, King of Hell, don't you hear that? Everyone says I've been defiled, so how about we call off our wedding? Don't even think about it." Nangongyu's expression darkened. He put her into his arms behind him, gritted his teeth, and said, "As I said before, I'm determined to marry you today. No one can stop me." Nangongyu sneered, "The person who appeared in the projection initially was you, but it was only at the beginning. I, Nangongyu, won't fail to recognize even my beloved." Everything about Shi'er was engraved in the depths of his soul like a raging fire. With just one glance, Nangongyu could tell the person wasn't Shiyu. How would he be misled by a mere projection? Not to mention that the young man's body was exposed in the last scene. Even if the clothes hadn't been taken off, Nangongyu could tell at a glance that it was an impostor. He was brimming with joy. She held Nangongyu's hand tightly with a hint of bliss in her eyes. She suddenly had a strong feeling that being married to Nangongyu as a wife was wonderful. While the two were being sweet and affectionate, the others couldn't believe their eyes as they watched them acting lovey-dovey as if nothing had happened. Has Nangongyu gone crazy? Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1554, So what? Nangongyu accepts Shiyu even after seeing another person defiled Shiyu. Could Shiyu have inflicted voodoo poison on Nangongyu, causing him to lose all his sense of reason? Even Lu Zhishi had this thought in her heart. She stared at He in Nangongyu's arms, and her eyes were full of resentment and hatred. That's right. Shiyu must have cast a voodoo on Nangongyu. Otherwise, why would Nangongyu be so obsessed with him? The hall was filled with whispers as everyone commented and pointed at He and Nan Gongyu. Nan Gonghua coughed loudly, took a few steps forward, and said to He, Shiyu, since you have been intimate with third brother, I agree to let you marry into my Nangong family and become my third brother's lawful wife. As he said that, he frowned in disgust. Originally, a mere toy boy like you is not qualified to marry into our Nangong family. However, for the sake of your master, immortal Xian Qing, I will allow my third brother to marry you. At this moment, Tong Bing, who squatted beside the unconscious Nangong Xian, did something and made Nangong Xian wake up faintly. As soon as Nangong Xian saw He, his eyes immediately lit up with infatuation and triumph. He murmured excitedly, Darling, my darling Shiyu, let's go for more. As he spoke, drool dribbled from the corner of his mouth. Paired with his chubby face, the sight was disgusting. A smug smile flashed across Nan Gonghua's face. He coughed again and said, Third brother, what nonsense are you spouting? How could you behave so recklessly? You have defiled immortal Xian Qing's disciple. However, since you two have spent intimate moments together, you have to marry him. Even though our Nangong family doesn't want to have a man as a wife, we have no other choice now. Nan Gonghua worded it helplessly as if the Nangong family was the victim. Nangong Xian excitedly jumped from the ground, oblivious to the disheveled clothing. He pounced at Xianyu, Darling Shiyu, don't worry. I will take responsibility for you. With a face like that, Nangong Xian would never grow tired of it, even if he looked at it for a lifetime. Moreover, he was under the influence of the drug, so he couldn't appreciate Shiyu's peerless beauty in the desolate yard. He felt he didn't enjoy the experience to the fullest. However, he could have all the fun he wanted after marrying Shiyu. Thinking of defiling Nan Gongyu's lover, the blood in his body boiled in excitement. However, a sharp white light whizzed toward him before Nangong Xian got close to Shiyu. Nan Gonghua, who was behind Nangong Xian, quickly reacted to pull him back from danger with spiritual power. Yet, Nangong Xian let out a shriek like a pig being slaughtered. A large amount of blood gushed out between his legs. The sword light was 1 inch away from castrating Nangong Xian. He was lucky that Nan Gonghua pulled him back. Pointing at Nan Gongyu, who was calmly sheathing his sword, Nan Gonghua roared in fury, Nan Gongyu, have you lost your mind? He's your uncle. Are you trying to castrate him? So what? Nan Gongyu sneered, if anyone dares to insult Shiyu, I don't mind castrating a few more people. Even though Nangong Xian avoided being castrated, his femoral artery was severed. He lost a lot of blood and passed out. Despite immediate medical attention, he was barely clinging to life with an ashen face. Chapter 1555, How can this person be a young lady? He looked at old lady Nangong and said sternly, Mother, you decide how to settle this matter. He didn't believe old lady Nangong would agree to let Nangongyu marry a defiled man like Shiyu. Old lady Nangong's face wore an expression filled with distress, sorrow, fear, and conflict. She looked at Nangongyu and then at Shiyu, and tears streamed down her face. She wanted to say something but couldn't bear it. The hostility in Nangongyu's heart dissipated a lot immediately. Only old lady Nangong had never said anything bad about Shiyu since the beginning. Nangongyu sighed softly and said to old lady Nangong, Grandma, that person is not Shiyu. Old lady Nangong was stunned momentarily, not understanding what Nangongyu meant. Yun Jingxue, who was supporting old lady Nangong, exclaimed in shock, Cousin Yu, stop deceiving yourself. Anyone with eyes can tell that that person is Shiyu. Have you lost your mind because of this man? Everyone nodded one after another and looked at Nangongyu with pity. The king of hell fell in love with a man so crazy that he couldn't even think straight. However, Nangongyu started to laugh softly. There was a hint of mockery in his soft laughter, which soon became a hearty laughter. Nangongyu couldn't wait to see the wonderful expressions of the people who framed Shiyu when they knew the truth. Old lady Nangong stepped forward in a panic and grabbed Nangongyu's hand, what's wrong with you? Do scare your grandma like that? Nangong Yu patted old lady Nangong's hand with a leisurely smile. Grandmother, I'm fine. That person isn't Shiyu. I swear on my deceased parents that misfortune will befall me if I'm lying. The people present were even more shocked. What's going on? Nangong Yu actually made such a serious oath. Old lady Nangong was nervous and said in a panic, take back your words. Why are you swearing like that? Then, old lady Nangong paused, wondering, why are you so sure? Nangong Yu didn't answer, but he asked Hashi, who was not far away, with a glance. Shiyu nodded with a gentle smile. Only then did Nangong Yu speak up, because the Shiyu I admire is not a man at all but the woman I deeply cherish. The person Nangong Xan violated in the recording stone was clearly a man, so how could he be Shiyu? What? How can that be? The audience was in an uproar, and all eyes were on Shiyu. Afterward, they shook their heads together. No. It's impossible. No matter how you look at it, the person in front of us is a young man. Even though he is exceptionally handsome and has a delicate frame, look at his brows and the subtle hint of a developing Adam's apple. How can this person be a young lady? Old lady Nangong froze for a long while before saying, I understand that you can't accept this reality for a while, but you can't deceive yourself like this. Shiyu is clearly a man. How can he be a young lady? Chapter 1556, Are You Blind? Yeah. Everyone on the Miluo continent knows that Shiyu, the young master of Xingda Hall, is a man. Aren't you just talking nonsense? He's right. Shiyu is talented, and he shows excellent combat prowess. I've heard that he is a decisive person. Few men can do that, let alone a woman. The members of the Miracle Healer Academy were stunned. Shock filled their eyes, and it was quickly replaced with disbelief. Even the unflappable Xian Mu had his pupils shrank at this moment. He locked his gaze firmly on Shiyu. I had shared a dorm with Shiyu for quite a while. Shiyu, who had never exhibited any trace of femininity, is a woman. How is it possible? However, with my understanding of Nangong Yu, he wouldn't lie about such a matter. Tong Bing laughed sharply and said hysterically, Nangong Yu, even if you want to fabricate lies, at least make them believable. Who in Miracle Healer Academy doesn't recognize Shiyu? Who doesn't know that Shiyu is a man? No one will believe your lies. Before Nangong Yu could reply, Heshi had already chuckled lightly. Looking at Tong Bing, she sneered, Tong Bing, I have lived in the same dormitory with you for so long, and I didn't know that you liked man. Furthermore, you were willing to be someone else's toy boy. How would you know if I'm a man or a woman? Tong Bing's complexion twisted for a moment. His mask trembled slightly on his face. He couldn't even deny that he was Tong Bing. He shouted hysterically, we can all see your gender. Don't treat us as if we're blind. On the contrary, when Qian Dazhuang and the others heard the name, Tong Bing, their complexions changed. They looked at him with hostility. Hashi sneered and said leisurely, oh. Really? Then, let's see if your eyes are blind. As soon as Hashi finished speaking, she had a special potion in her hand. The potion carried the fragrance of ninth secluded spirit spring. She wiped it on her face, hands, and neck. In the blink of an eye, the previously handsome, elegant, and heroic young man lost his masculinity. The bushy eyebrows had transformed into thin, arching eyebrows, resembling the curved willow leaves. Seeing them from afar made them look like graceful eyebrows. The long, narrow eyes carrying the grace of a phoenix lost their sharp coldness. Instead, those eyes took an air of innocence and allure. The formerly convincing Adam's apple had disappeared, revealing the neck and collarbone as fair as jade. Although the attire remained the same and even the hairstyle didn't change, everyone still felt there was something different from Shiyu. The person standing before them was no longer a striking young man but a breathtakingly beautiful woman. Shiyu had the perfect disguise that fooled everyone. It was so convincing that despite her stunning beauty, she misled everyone about her gender. Hiss! There were gasps of surprise throughout the hall. Those in the Miracle Healer Academy who got along with Shiyu day and night, even often hanging out together, were completely stunned. They stared at Shiyu, not knowing where to put their hands and feet. Oh. My hand was on Shiyu's shoulder. Shiyu checked my pulse before. When I was out hunting and doing missions, I had shared the same bed with Shiyu. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.